Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of, I was going to say Friday Night Reads, but it's Friday Reads Live. I'm joined, of course, as usual, by ShawnDStandfast and our special guest, Greg, from another Bibliophile Reads. So, gentlemen, we have 3 in the chat so far. I guess we can get started. So, Greg, we'll start with you. What have you finished so far this week?
This week,
Or at least
I finished 2 books. They are one audio and one digital. The audiobook was Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Rayburn.
Okay.
I did a short video. It was a fun little mystery. It's a cheap mystery. The premise is 4 women in their early 60s have retired from a corporation and been sent on this luxury cruise, ultra luxury cruise. And it turns out that these women worked for a secret assassination group, and they were 4 trained assassins. And they're going on the cruise. They look at one of the waitstaff and says, "Wait a second, I recognize him. He works for this organization." And they discover that someone has put a hit out on them. And so these little old ladies have to avoid the assassin and then go infiltrate the organization and find out why they've been targeted for assassination and make sure they're not targets. It was a lot of fun, but it really read like a film script that you could just tell that the author wanted to see made into a movie. I'm sure the author knew her 4 main characters, which actress she wanted to play the part. And like I said, so many plot holes. I described it as the plot holes the size of a Lincoln Tunnel. Because these are supposed to be good guy assassins. Or after World War II, the idea was they're going after the Nazis that escaped justice and assassinate them. And it was privately funded by rich people, and so they're only going after bad guys. And then after they got rid of most of the Nazis, they had to go after like human traffickers and major drug dealers. So, like I said, they're pretending they're the good guys and taking out the bad guys. So the assassin on this boat had planted a huge bomb, and I'm going, okay, that's just totally against what they said they were for. And say, why are you bombing a whole ship to take out 4 little old ladies? And it never really explained that. Other than they had to fake a fire to get everyone off the boat before the bomb went off.
Oh, it actually goes off, does it?
Well, maybe they just get off the boat and then the whole thing is dropped.
I mean, it does sound fun, I guess.
It's a huge amount of fun. But in one case, one of the women, they're on the run for their lives, invites her wife to join her on the run. And the wife brings their cat.
Okay.
And I'm going, okay, that's just total Hollywood having this cat on the run. And you're like, see, we take care of our pets. And you have to totally overlook that sort of Hollywoodness.
Well, it's the suspension of disbelief, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
but if you want to see old ladies kicking butt,
who doesn't? And but I mean, is it a candidate for Garb August kind of book, or
no? It's a little bit above Garb August.
A little bit above, okay.
But it's your typical hot American thriller.
Okay. So before you mention the next one, let's just have a quick look at the comments because we have a few already. That reading guy, 3 hot influences. Oh, thank you very much. And Aaron's given us cognomens. I'm not sure why I marked the flogger, unless he's referring to my weekend activities down the local nightclub. Let's mark the flogger, Shawn the befogged, and Greg the laid back. So
okay,
bad.
Sorry, go on. to say, yeah, I was looking it up because I couldn't remember the name of the film. That is that is some ways like a film that was done in the 60s with Diana Rigg, and I can't think of his name now. It's called The Assassination Bureau. But Oliver Reed and Diana Rigg, and it's quite a funny film. But I'm sure somebody's told me about this before. I know somebody else has read this book because it sounds so familiar.
Well, Greg did put a video out on it today. Was it today or yesterday?
No, I put a video out on Killers of a Certain Age yesterday.
Yeah.
And I
months ago.
I put out a video of my next book this morning, so that will also be available. But it's like been out for an hour, so maybe no one's watched it yet.
Well, I just as soon as we started, I put out a video as well. See how busy I was.
I put one out at 5 o'clock this morning. Just for Alan, actually, who's just coming in to say hi. Hiya, Jenny. Hope it's going well at the post office. Not on strike, are you? What's the name of the book again, Greg? Pete is asking.
The Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Rayburn.
Yeah, I don't know. Sounds fun. Yeah, I might.
It's lightweight entertainment.
Yeah, it sounds like the kind of book you want to read when you're in a bit of a slump.
Yes. Or on the beach and drinking margaritas or cervezas or whatever.
Maybe not on the cruise ship though.
I had one of those this week too.
What?
That kind of book.
Oh, I thought you made a margarita. I could just see you sitting there in your room, sure, drinking margaritas and the sun lamp on you.
I need a pith helmet then.
Yeah.
And a little what is it? One of those things.
Yeah, you need a punkawalla as well to like get the fan. Or I'll probably be in trouble for that. I don't know. So, Greg, next one. What was the audiobook?
The one I just finished last night was Cradles of the Reich by Jennifer Coburn or something. That's an historical novel. It is published in 2022. It starts off in Berlin, 1939. There is a young German woman going to visit the doctor to get the results of a pregnancy test. And she is unmarried. Ooh. And lo and behold, who is waiting in the office but her mother?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Hitler.
No, her mother is there.
Well, it might be worse.
So, of course, she is pregnant. And they ask who the father is, and she lies.
Because it's Hitler.
Oh, no. What would be the worst father to have in 1939 Germany?
Oh, Mr. Goldstein or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, he's Jewish.
Yeah.
So she has to lie. And she told him of a good Aryan boy who's off in the military and can't be reached. But they're enrolling her in this program like Lebensborn. Oh, yeah. And this is apparently a real program that they had where unmarried women were encouraged to have Aryan babies for prominent Nazi families who wanted more children.
That's right. They had actually, they had them like baby farms. So they would have the Aryan women and they would get knocked up by SS men. And then they would farm the babies out, as you say, to prominent families. Yeah, it's all true. Yeah.
Well, the parts of it, I read I don't want to say which parts are true. There's one part that she included in the book as true. In the postscript, he says, well, you know, some people say this part wasn't true. So you have some sources say it is, some sources say it isn't. She just went one with it is because it made the better story.
Yeah.
But at least she came out and says, well, don't tell me it's not right because I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
But then you follow two other characters, another woman named Hild, who I love this description. I mean, she is lamenting that some of the other German girl classmates are described as having Coke bottle-like figures.
Okay.
And the author describes her figure as a can of evaporated milk.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Nice.
But this woman came in second place in her fencing contest.
Okay.
So she's probably a very good fencer. And she goes to her mother and says, I got second place. And the
pregnant.
mother goes, if this was a real sword fight, do you know what second place means?
Yeah.
Dead.
Dead. I'm going, way to go, Mom. Way to encourage your daughter.
Either that or she worked for a farmer and they needed to put up fences.
Yeah. Or she trafficked in stolen goods.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ask AI about that.
And then it follows on another woman who was a nurse in World War I. So the author is giving you viewpoints of 3 German women with 3 very different outlooks on Germany and what's going on in Germany. And that made for quite an interesting book because they eventually all meet up together in this Lebensborn program.
Okay. And this was an audiobook, was it? So was it
No, this was a digital book.
Oh, so the other one was audiobook.
The other one was audio, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I got it the wrong way around. Let's check some of the comments. Mark's hairs. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Regarding striking, Jenny says it's tempting, but her customers would riot as they're the busiest in the city. I almost said the city. Sorry, Jenny. Alan owes me big time. Yes, you do. No, you don't. I enjoyed it actually, but it's been such a long time since I've looked at the Dubliners. Peter says, I really like that you talked about Of Mice and Men the other day, Greg. I really love that book. Yeah, it's a good book. Alexis, Alan, I think Mark is going for the unicorn. Okay, right. And Chris says, hi, everyone. So, yes, hello, everyone. Welcome once again. Greg's been giving us the rundown of what he's read so far this week. So we'll move over to Shawn. What have you done?
Well, I finished, Saturday, I only had a little bit of Mysteries of Paris. So I finished that. And then I didn't read anything on Sunday, actually. So,
disgraceful.
Yeah. Monday, I read the 3rd book of The Dance to the Music of Time by Anthony Pohl. Another sort of story of feckless, brainless, rich people not doing anything and just going to dinners and dances and not thinking about much and talking a little bit about socialism, but just saying that it's there and that's it.
I think it's fair to say, Shawn, the book you're holding though is actually it's like an omnibus, isn't it? It's got like 3 or 4 books in it.
3. Yes, yeah. There's 3 of them in there. So
there's 4 volumes.
Sorry?
4 volumes of 3.
4 volumes of 3.
Yeah.
12 total books or something like that.
Yeah, there's 12. Yeah. And so I'm reading once a month. Once a month. I'm reading once a month, but 1 book a month. And then I read the 3rd Sackett novel on, I guess, Tuesday. Was that? Yeah, Tuesday. The Warrior's Path. And
it's a bit smaller than the second one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is only 226 pages long. So it was a very quick read. And it's set about 1630 this time. It's Barnabas Sackett's son, Kin Ring Sackett. Love his name, Kin.
Sounds like a Jedi.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just him going to crush a white slave ring that started up in New England. And but because it's young women that they were enslaving and selling as wives in Jamaica.
When is this book set?
It's set in New England. Colorado is where he what will be Colorado is where he lives out in the mountains.
What's the time period?
1630. It's in this one, I think now, so it's moved on. Like the first 2 books basically happened all in the 1602 or 1599 to 1603, and they traveled back and forth to the New World about.
First class, I hope, on a jetliner.
It's fun, but it's again, you can't. It's historically inaccurate in many ways. There's little things, but it is fun, and he's trying to sort of, I guess, rewrite American history the way he sort of wished it would be. I think with people the way they should have been and how it could have happened. So and this Sackett, like like his father, he reads, like he's got Montaigne and all sorts of stuff like that. He's got books, so he reads a lot in the early period. Wednesday, for Will Sean Like It? This is my sort of trashy book of the week. Don Winslow's City of Fire, first of a trilogy. And you were saying that the one book was written like a script. This definitely is. Like, it's 300 and some pages, but I read that late morning to mid afternoon, basically. That's how simple it is. It was fun, but
I listened to the audiobook of that one. It's fun.
Yeah, there's some interesting characters, but I just wish he would go a little deeper into them. But that's not what the story is. It's sort of a weak tea Tony Soprano, I would say. It's not very deep, but there's one the mother in there. She's an estranged mother, but she's sort of very, like, there's high class prostitutes. She's very high class.
You've sold me. It sounds great. What's it called again?
She's very high class though, because
his mother?
Yeah, his mother, because she works up that once she gets millionaires, and then she starts doing billionaires, she doesn't F down, as it says, so she moves up. She moves up to the next level, and she leaves all the rest, the dregs behind.
All those poor little millionaires, just not good enough for her.
Yeah. But then she winds up with millions and millions. She did well out of it. She said she only had two assets: her brains and her body. So she used
just
both.
like me.
And that's why you're poor.
That's right.
And then one you DNF, Greg.
I DNF that one.
I didn't even attempt it. It wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't bother with it.
I loved it. Like, it's just like, you just cannot. You go, wait a minute, that's not scientifically correct. You can't have air on a planet that has no life. And then you move on. You go, well, that doesn't work either. Screw it. It's just fun.
I can't work out your
board with it. Fighting big bugs and the character is just like, he has no character. He's just a guy who fights bugs.
So you're saying, Greg, it wouldn't even make the cut for Garb August then?
No, that could make the cut for Garb August.
But I can't work out your copy, Sean. It looks like it's double. It's two books in one?
Double.
It's a new or newish publisher that's doing like the Ace doubles. It's called Armchair Fiction, and they're print on demand, but they're very well made. The original cover arts, but they're a bit blurry. But yeah, it's just there's two, and there's another one in here called The Peril of the Starman. I've never read this one, but I enjoyed it. It's a fix-up novel. That the first two parts, Mad Planet and Red Dust, were written in the 1920s for Argosy, and then in 1953 he wrote a third part, and then stitched them all together for a novel in 1954.
Like a Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster novel.
Fix-up, yeah, it's a fix-up novel. Like, it happens so many times, but it's only like 100. I think in the hardcover it was like 170 pages, so it's your typical short. It's just I thought it was fun, and I enjoyed it, but again, you cannot over obsess on the inaccuracies of the science, because you'll go insane. It's like, there's so many inaccuracies.
What I thought was the most humorous part of the book wasn't really scientifically inaccurate at the time, but they talk about all these spaceships that go out and help seed the planet. Yeah. And they had computer punch cards.
That's hilarious.
And the idea is that this planet got lost because one of the punch cards fell on the floor and wasn't picked up.
When was it written? Back in the 18th century, or?
No, it would have been 20s or 30s. So at the time, punch cards would have been absolutely state of what your art was, but you look at it and go, wow, that's old.
But you see, I want to say they had like some form of punch card computers in the 1700s, didn't they?
Babbage.
With Charles Babbage. And in fact, there's a nice little link there. Well, link, it's not a link, but it's a literary link. Lord Byron's daughter was involved with them, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She's regarded as one of the first computer programmers.
Yeah, mathematician. What's her name? Alice
Lovelace. Ada Lovelace.
Yeah, because every time I hear Lovelace, I'm always thinking of the porn.
Yeah, I'm always thinking of porn as well. It's just on our brains.
So I figured, no, that's not it. And what I'm reading today, which
is books you finished, Sean.
Okay.
Books you finished. We'll come to the ones. All right. Well, have you done the ones you finished?
Yeah, I've done.
Okay. So start off with what you're reading then. Sorry, you start off, and then we'll go to Greg.
Yeah, and is the private memoirs of and confessions of a justified sinner. Sinner
might be good.
Yeah. Written in 1824 or published in 1824 by James Hogg. It's for Vins at Revenant Reads Gothic. And I think you DNF'd this one too, didn't you, Greg?
I tried to read it as a digital. I tried as an audiobook, and I just didn't do anything to me.
How far did you get? Because I'm about 60 pages in, and I quite like it, but I'm just curious.
I got a little farther than 60 pages before I'm going through. I'm saying this is okay, and then I'm looking at all the other books that I have to read.
That's the thing, isn't it? You have to make it cool.
Possibility. Like, is it? Oh, do I want to invest my time in this thing that's going to be just average and okay, or do I want to move on to something that I think I'll really enjoy? And that's my point. It's like, okay, I'm not going to really like it that much. Just set it aside and move on. I don't consider it a DNF because I'm considering a book I just sort of sampled and never really started reading.
Yeah.
Even though I made it like 100 pages. So I probably could count it as a DNF.
That's actually like halfway, isn't it? It's only like
I guess it is really a DNF.
Pages. So
yeah, like lots of like the recognitions. Like I read 8 of the first pages, and I probably read maybe another 8 throughout, and I just got like if it was this size, I would have continued. But yeah, it's like 950 pages of something that, as you say, I just don't want to invest your time. But this I don't mind, because if I would have kept reading this afternoon, I would have been finished it. But you didn't get to the part, because the first section, it's in I think it's just 2 sections. Where
mine's 3 sections, because you have the part from the editor.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 parts to the confessions, and then there's an ending to it. Actually, it's 4 sections.
Yeah. Well,
I got the Penguin one, so I don't know, it might be different.
It's the first section is the editor telling the
background
graphical story of the character, and then you've got the character telling his own story, being whiny and telling his own story. And that's where it becomes more interesting, because you get to see the contrast between them. And I've read it before a long time ago. I actually didn't remember it as being this tedious. I did find it quite tedious, the first part.
So you don't like it either? I have to say, I
like it. The saying it's tedious doesn't mean I don't like it. I just didn't remember it being tedious, but I do like it.
Right, let's have a quick look at the comments, because I've been neglecting them. I guess it's a question for you, Greg, seeing as you're the only one doing this. Would Cat in the Hat count for a read what you own challenge?
If I owned it, yes. I'm not discriminating on certain types of books. Because I actually am very tempted to read a short children's book of poetry right now. It's translated from the German from like the 1840s about naughty children. And it's just really different how people thought of children back then than they do now. So, but that's like 50 pages. So it would count if you own it. But the thing is, it only counts once. And you know something? A book like this only counts as one book. So,
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, but you could. I mean, could you? Have you got enough, like 500 books, to read 500 books under, say, 200 pages?
Yes.
So
I
you
do.
could tactically knock it out faster, I suppose, by doing. I mean, how long do you think this is going to take you?
Well, for 500, well, I'm almost done with the 100-book challenge. That's going to be done next week, probably.
Right.
Maybe it's stretch out a little bit. 500 would take me 2 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because
And
last year I did 216 books.
And you including audiobooks in the 500 book challenge?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. It's doable then. I mean, for me, it would take me a long time. I'm lucky to get to 100 books in a year, so it would probably take me about 6 or 7 years to do 500
And
books.
I know I'm not going to make it to 500. It's just not going to happen, because what's going to happen is I'm going to go on travel sooner or later, and I'm going to go to a used bookstore in some place like Hay on Way or something.
Hay on Wye.
Hay on Way. There we go. And I will just come out with a bag full of books and go, I don't care about my 500 book challenge, because I've got a lot of old British paperback books that I'm taking home.
Life's too short. That's what I
want to start a challenge that it's 100 books, but they can't be less than 1,200 pages. And you got to do them in a year.
I could not do it.
I don't know if I could even do it. I don't know if I... No,
I don't. Steve Donahue do it.
Steve Donahue, yeah.
He might be. What?
Yeah, he probably could. I mean, I'm just thinking. I do think.
I mean,
you wouldn't enjoy it, would you? You'd just be racing through it. It'd become a job.
It is. So. I mean, the 100-book challenge is kind of fun because I buy too many books. I buy more than I can read. So it does try to focus me on, okay, last year you bought all these books. Now try to read them. But it's actually books that I bought like 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago that I'm reading, but I get to them now. So it's it can be fun.
Well, have you read another way of doing that? Another way of doing that without doing this is don't have money to buy books.
That's another way.
Because if you don't have money to buy books, you don't buy many books. So you wind up reading more than you buy.
That's another way to do it. And with way the stock market's going, I worry about my savings. Go like, oh, I hope I have something left.
Well, you can always sell or burn your books to keep warm, or sell your books for food. So, and if you've read 500 of them, you're not going to miss them that much, right? So
the problem with selling books is you get pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
You bring in 4 boxes of books to the used bookstore, they give you $30 or something like that.
It used to be better. It used to
be better.
I remember I used to make a living book scouting, just regular stuff, buying paperbacks and reselling to booksellers, and you'd spend $100, say, on books to resell, and I usually would wind up with $400 or $500 walking out of the bookseller.
Yeah, but that's because you bought the books in America and took them back to Canada where they didn't have books. So
somewhere from America, yes.
Right, let's carry on. So Gareth's here. Hi, Gareth. Hello to you. Gareth is reading Princess of Mars at the moment, and he's done a video on pulp science fiction that's been inspired by it. And he talks about non-sciencey science fiction. Bob, a friend was reading the Lensman series and was talking about the space age materials in the ships like asbestos. Yeah. Gareth says it would be hard to imagine what would survive in our customs and tech and what wouldn't survive. Yeah, I think that's true. It is difficult for them to tell, isn't it? I guess a question for maybe both of you, or maybe Shawn more, I don't know. But is the book I, Robot a good science fiction book?
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Yes, Gareth. We in all our modern finery will be considered antiquated, primitive. Yeah, I always like your. I think it's your argument on this, isn't it, Greg? When you talk about meat eaters, isn't it? Like how when I can't remember what it's in relation to. It's like maybe changing values and how
Changing
like
values, yes. People are always talking about books. They have to edit out certain things that people said or did in old books, like language that's no longer used, or smoking cigarettes. I've noticed that in at least one. It was The Body Snatchers by Jack Finney, originally published in the 50s. And they revised it for the 70s movie. And everyone in the 50s book was smoking cigarettes. 70s book, no cigarettes. And my theory is, if you go forward a couple decades, those generations are going to look at our books and look at characters who are eating meat and say, that character is obscene. That character was eating meat. So you'll have your sensitivity readers go through and go, Joe was eating a hamburger. Joe was eating a veggie burger.
Well, what I want to write though is a future film where humans have to become cannibals, and the grain-fed people are the very good food source. So therefore, you want to actually be a meat eater so you don't get eaten.
So are they like the Wagyu beef as well? They get kind of massaged before they're slaughtered or whatever. Jenny, I don't like to, put pressure on you or anything, but I'm pretty sure you were reading Children of Men. Was it last week or the week before, eh? So, get your act together. And Shawn, this one for you. I'm on page 700 of Gaddis's recognitions. It's really good.
Yeah, well, that's if you like it. I just think the style, his wordage is just makes my eyes roll, because he just adds so much crap, and that's what I think it is. But I just don't like his style of writing. But it's not for everybody. And
look, we've just seen it, haven't we? We're just talking about Hog. Greg doesn't like it.
Yeah,
you see some tedium in it. I'm actually really enjoying it.
Yeah,
so we've got three slightly different opinions, or three very different opinions, and to each their own. To each their own.
Yeah.
So if you could say it's good, I could say it's crap.
I mean, first of all, when I read this book, I can totally understand why some people think it's total crap. It's not for them. I can see that in his writing and how people would react negatively against it. And I see it, and I think it's a valid point. I just see it in a different way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And it's like, it's not like, I mentioned, if you ever say, oh, it's because it's too difficult for you to say. No, it's nothing to do with the difficulty. I've read stuff that's much more difficult than that, or the size of the book.
But again, the difficulty could be, you can take difficulty as something subjective as well, right? So it's difficult for you because it's not your cup of tea. I have things that I read quite commonly difficult things, but then science fiction generally is difficult for me because I find it difficult to get drawn into it as much as something else. Obviously, subjectively it's not difficult at all. A lot of science fiction is really easy and
but
low grade.
It's style of writing. That's the thing that I dislike, and I don't find it difficult, the style of writing. I just don't like the style of writing.
Yeah.
It's like some people like I like stuff that's sort of laid back in like almost a folksy type reading or writing, and maybe sometimes a sentimental way of doing things. And I'll like that. And I know people don't like that kind of thing. And that's a style thing. It's not that it's difficult they don't like it. It's just they don't like the style.
It could be difficult for them. Difficult to get into. Not technically difficult. That's what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway.
I see difficult in a different way then. I see difficult in a different way.
Vat grown meat. That sounds really appetizing, Alexis. So Jenny has actually finished it. Okay, that's fine. Hello, Groovy Pop Tart. Good to see you. Chris is currently reading Mr. Hire's Engagement by Semenon. That's Maigret, is it probably? Or I'm not sure. But at least the same author, I'm imagining.
Well, there you go. There you can do your 100 books in probably 40 days. Just read 100 Seminole.
Yeah.
You can do it in 40 days.
Alan advises that him and Greg are going to read even more Gaddis. There you go, Greg.
We are. I've already said I'm reading.
Much more. There's not much more that he's written.
He's written a short book called Carpenter's Gothic, which is like under 300 pages, which is for him is really short. And then he has his next major novel, A Frolic of His Own. It's about 600 pages, maybe 500 pages. That's another one that won the National Book Award. But that's probably 2024. Carpenter's Gothic I want to knock out sometime this year because it's short.
And we got the Parrot book at some point, haven't we?
That's next month.
That's all right then. Yeah.
But it's 3 hours in audio. So
yeah,
it's like
it's a short, very short novella. So
that's
it's
like
Michael Chabon.
Oh, okay. I've never read anything by him.
Really? I have to say he's good. And very he's one of those writers where you can read 3 different books by him and you can probably think it's 3 different people wrote it. He's very versatile. I mean, I would say between the Yiddish Policeman's Union and Cavalier and Clay, it's quite different.
You know, I said that too, but I bet if you held those books and really read them closely, you would find his style in there.
I know I definitely want to reread Cavalier and Clay again at some point. I really, really enjoyed it, but I liked the Yiddish one, Policeman's Union too. No, I think he's interesting.
He's got some other ones too.
Gareth wants to read Children of Men. Yeah, I enjoyed the film actually.
I didn't know there was a film for that.
Yeah, it's Michael Caine's in it, and I think Clive Owen, maybe if I remember rightly. Kevin loved The Recognitions. As a child, I was raised by Catholicism, so he sees the comedy well in that. Courtney says depends on the level of sci-fi. Jenny says to Gareth, it's quite different overall. I think I prefer the movie. So that's Children of Men again. Elvis John, yes, he was barking. No doubt some enemy walking. If Greg is the godfather of Booktube, Steve Donahue is, well, easily the grandfather. So there we go. Let's see. Mark again. Hair's looking sweet. Thank you. Kevin, have any of you read J.R.? I hear it is his
I did. I love J.R.
Is it better than Recognitions?
I haven't finished Recognitions, but I'm going to say I think it's the better book.
Oh, you haven't read Recognitions before? It's your first?
No, this is the first time I've read Recognitions.
Okay.
I've read J.R. twice. And it is an experience because it is about 95% unattributed dialogue.
Fancy that, Sean?
What?
Do you fancy that, Sean?
See, that doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me. It's how they go. It's how the person tackles it that can bother me or make me really love it. I love Dahlgren, and I know that's not for everybody.
I love Dahlgren too. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, but I know that that's not for everybody. People start reading that and just can't go with it, and that worked for me.
You know why it worked for me is that I'm a hybrid reader. I think I read literary fiction and I read science fiction. If you are just a science fiction reader, and there are people who basically just read science fiction, they're not going to take to that book because he's stepping out of the how would you put this in a nice way? There's accepted norms when you're writing a science fiction story of what you do and what you don't do. He steps outside that.
Well, it's part of the new wave sort of mentality of writing stuff and that. And it didn't always work for me, but that one definitely does. And Delaney does work for me for that kind of thing.
He does. I tried to read his porn novel Hog this year.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
It's basically one rape scene after another. And it was just too boring. There's nothing exciting about rape and torture of a person.
I do wonder sometimes with these books, at what point is it just kind of gratuitous? Is there really a message in it? Do you know what I mean?
Criminale did a very good defense of Hog. Is that he was deliberately trying to push the limits because Delaney in real life was an African-American gay man. So he got lots of discrimination on a couple fronts. And he's going, okay, let's see what you really dislike in life, you know, and say, okay, we both agree this is really bad, but maybe I'm not so bad, you know. I think that's sort of where he was going. It's like trying to push it to such an extreme that homosexuality is considered more normal. I mean, I don't want to say that's what he was doing, but I think that's at least a
one way of looking at it. Yeah. Huh. Okay, well, I'm going to do my what I read this week, I suppose, if anyone's interested. I finished Henri de Balzac's Lost Illusions, which I absolutely enjoyed. Fantastic read. Good. Well, I was going to say good fun, but it's there's a lot of wretchedness in all of these French books, I suppose, that we've come across so far, Shawn. But I really enjoyed it, and it wasn't part of our original plan. It was something that Shawn suggested, and just picked it up, and it was good fun. And the other one is actually one that's very similar, but I really loved this, and it's The Same Old Story by Ivan Goncharov. He only wrote 3 novels. This was his first one. He's more famous for Olimov, which I haven't read. And there's similarity. I have to say, I think they would be good companion reads. And I won't say too much because I think I'll make a video on them over the weekend, because both of them were real revelations to me and I thoroughly enjoyed them. But I would recommend this to anybody, and keep an eye out the weekend and you can see my talking about it in more detail. In terms of what I'm reading, so I might as well start with that and then we'll go to Greg. What I'm reading at the moment left I'm doing is for Historathon and with Vin from Revenant Reads and others. We are reading Xenophon's Hellenica, or in the Penguin version, A History of My Time. It's not as dry, I don't think, as the others were saying it was, but yeah, quite enjoying that. And then, unlike Shawn, I haven't finished. I'm still about 150 pages in only, but it's very enjoyable. It's very fast paced, and I plan to make rapid progress through the weekend, I hope. And the other thing I'm doing, because I actually used my first Audible credit this week, I've been saving them up. I had 3, and I finally took the plunge, because I don't know about you, Greg, with Audible. I imagine you have the Premier plan where you get access to their library, which is really good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can listen to for free without using your credits. But I decided to take the plunge for the definitive Sherlock Holmes by Stephen Fry.
Yes, I have that one. He's a very good narrator.
Yeah, but I mean, his introductions as well at the beginnings of the stories are really good. But you know, it's been a while, and it's funny how you forget things. And I'm still on the study in Scarlet, because I only started the other day, and I'm listening, you know, as I fall asleep at night. So I keep having to go back. You probably know what I mean there. And I forgot about the bit where he tests the poison on the poor dog. But the dog was apparent. He did make the point that the dog was on its way out anyway, but I was a little bit upset by that. But hey ho, what can you do? It's brilliant.
I remember that now. I'm going like, Sherlock Holmes is killing dogs?
Yeah, because he's like, oh, you know, bring up Mrs. So-and-so's terrier that's on his last legs that she wanted you to take to the vet to put down yesterday, conveniently. And let's test this poison on it. And it's like, what?
Well, if Doyle would have had him do Toby, then it would have been the end of his career, probably, if he did that.
Yeah, well, I think that's why he was very careful, saying like, you know, this dog's really on its way out. You know, made a point of like his labored breath, and Watson had to carry it in. But it is brilliantly done. And I would say to anybody listening, if you have a free audio credit, because I think you get one usually if you want a free trial or something like that. This is an excellent audiobook to get, because it's just super value. It's like 78 hours of listening, all done by, you know, Stephen Fry, so it's wonderful.
Now, there's one thing they look at. It's not quite complete.
No, it's definitive rather than complete. That's true.
There is a final volume of short stories that, for whatever reason, are considered still in copyright.
Yeah, but not now. Not this year.
In Britain or everywhere?
In Britain, it's in public domain now.
Okay.
From this year. Yeah. From January.
I have the same version, and it's like, but the thing is, I've been told that Doyle really wasn't into those last stories. He was just.
No.
I think Michael K. Vaughan says, yeah, they're worth it, but you can sort of sell that.
You know, they might update it or something.
Well,
but
there's one told from at least, I think it's just one though, that's told from the viewpoint of Sherlock.
Yeah.
Not Watson. It's actually Sherlock Holmes.
Okay.
So that's interesting in and of itself.
Yeah. No, it's I think it's only from January this year that it fell out of copyright. Because I notice if you notice a lot of the like Alma Books and others, they're putting it out now because they can, right? So
well, that was like 2020, was it 2020 or 2021 with Orwell? All of a sudden, everybody in January of whatever year that was just put out Orwell.
Yeah. So that's it for what I've still got on the go, at least. Let's just quickly go through the comments and we'll see what Greg's got on the go still. So where are we now? High praise for Chabonnier. Cavalier and Clay was Alan's favorite so far. Gareth, that will remain to be seen. I'm sure there'll be a video probably soon regarding the next period of Historathon. I haven't finalized yet. I kind of
read some.
Well, I kind of fell away a bit in January I went full out. February pulled back a little bit. March I've only been reading Hellenica because other things are on the way. I do have a book on the great what do you call it? The Terracotta Army I want to read. It's not going to take me very long. Groovy Pop Tart just finished the Odyssey. The only part that was hard was Odysseus seeing his old. Oh yeah.
No. Yes.
Yeah. Vat-grown steak tastes exactly. I love the way. I do love the comments sometimes. How we end up going back to something that was like half an hour ago, but it's probably my fault not getting to it. But vat-grown steak tastes exactly or close to real steak, but no animal is killed in the process. It's called the future. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm open-minded. I guess we'll see what happens. Alexis also loved Cavalier and Clay. Aaron, Guy Ritchie, Shark. The running jokes is Home keeps testing drugs on Watson's dog, Gladstone. Yeah. That's the Parrot book. You threw me for a second then. I keep thinking. So, Greg, what's on the go at the moment?
Okay. For an audiobook, I am listening to a biography of James Madison.
Oh, yeah, you're doing like president a month or a year,
Yeah, he's the fourth president of the United States.
Uh-huh.
And my project is to try to read one biography per month and get through all the presidents in chronological order.
But sorry to interrupt, but I have to ask, because you're doing the 500 book challenge, do you own a biography already of every president from the United States?
No, but because I said special projects are exempted.
And did you start the project yourself, right?
I did, but the thing is, I'm actually listening to almost all of them so far on Audible. And I purchased my Audible credits in bulk at the beginning of the year, so I own credits already, so I can use those.
That's okay. Yeah.
But as Michael said, which I was waiting for somebody to do this, you don't own any of that stuff. So like Michael had an existential breakdown.
For
that.
You're just picking nits with that owning stuff. But no,
it's not reading either then.
Yeah, you seem
argumentative today, Sean. Come on.
But no, it's a good, because this biography is somewhat short on some of the times details. That if I had not finished Washington and Adams and Jefferson, that I'd miss out, because the biography is sort of assuming that you know a little bit of history in this one. Now, there's some longer ones, like I picked like a 14-hour biography. There's like one that's 28 hours. And I presume in those extra 10 hours, he'd be filling in a lot more of the historical detail. But it's fascinating how each biographer focuses on each president and what they brought to the table, and how Madison very much brought the U.S. Constitution. He's the one that really forced the Constitution. Not forced, but brought it into being. And how he was very strongly in favor of separation of religion and state. And I kind of wish the author was focusing more on that, but I guess that's not that author's bailiwick. But
see, I'm kind of curious when you read these biographies of the presidents, like, because you only have quite a short term, really, there must be a lot of crossover. And I'm curious where you get to the point, because like if you're looking at Washington and Adams and they would have been moving at some point all in the same circle. So there would be a lot of the things that are going on at the time will be in every part of those biographies. And I wonder which president you get to, which is the last one, that has any actual connection to the others that came before them. And before you head off,
I'm not there yet, because they're already talking about Monroe, who was the fifth president. And of course, John Adams is there, Washington's there, Jefferson is there. But slowly, like you said, they're going to start dropping off. And the whole idea of this project is to get my view of American history, a very high-level view of what's gone on in the entire United States throughout history. And I figure presidential biographies are going to be pretty good about that. That, you know, I don't need the minutia detail, but I will get, once this project's done, I'll have a fairly solid view of American history. Now, there's some presidents that there are not a whole lot of biographies on.
You were saying about the length of it, like, so are there, like, are you talking about the one audiobook that you're listening to?
Right.
So there's different abridged versions of it.
No, different biographies by different authors.
Oh, the different. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Oh, so it's not the same author.
It's not the same author.
Different length. Oh, okay.
One author put in a couple extra 100 pages of some sort of detail.
But then, if it's only, would you say 9 hours? Like, that can't be a very long biography.
14 hours.
Or even 14.
It's about 300 pages, 400 pages.
Really? Okay.
I mean, as I said, I'm not looking for the really extreme detailed biographies. Like, you could go for 1,000-page biography on George Washington. I picked one that was more like 400 pages.
Okay. No, I just would have thought that it would have been more than 14 hours or something like that. So I was
no, 14 hours is a full-length book.
I
think Les Mis is like 60 hours, Sean.
60 hours, yeah.
So
what else am I reading? This is for March Mystery Madness. Let me see if I can hold this up.
One-Eyed Witness.
Perry Mason.
Oh, Perry Mason, wonderful.
Perry Mason.
Books, yeah.
I have never read a Perry Mason book before. I just picked this up at a used bookstore because it was like $2, and I owned it. And it was written in the 50s, 1950, and Perry Mason started in 1933. So it's well on in this. But you know something? It doesn't matter. This kind of book, it really does not matter at all. All you have to know is that Perry Mason is an attorney, and he gets sucked into a case. First half of the book was getting the case all settled, like, you know, involved in the case. He gets a mysterious phone call from a woman, and then he has to figure, who is this woman? Is she my client? Because she disappears, but she sent him some money. She says, I guess she is my client. And then she gets accused of murder, and he says, did she really commit the murder, or was the murder self-defense? So you go through. Now
you got one eye then.
I'm just getting there. I'm towards the end of the book where it's in the courtroom and he's investigating witnesses on the stand. And now it's getting into what you would expect Perry Mason is a courtroom drama.
The funny thing is, in my head, I'm always thinking, how did Perry Mason end up in the wheelchair? But of course, it's because
that's Ironside.
Well, I know, but Raymond Burr played both, didn't he? So it's like in my brain, I'm always thinking, but what happened there again? Yeah, Matlock.
But no, it's fun. I mean, it's typical 50s. Everyone's smoking cigarettes and
racist and.
He doesn't have a lot of that in there.
I have not noticed anything really overtly racist. There probably
where is he based? Where is he?
In California.
Oh, wow.
Los Angeles.
If he was in Alabama or somewhere, it might be a bit different.
Right. But you know something, there's going to be somewhere in these 30s, 50s Perry Mason, something that would be considered racist now. Because I don't see it.
I read a whole bunch of them, and nothing jumps out. But again, I read these a long time ago. So
in the 30s, yeah,
not that long ago. But I got a whole set. Like I had about 40 or 50 of them in hardcovers. I went to a garage sale in Canada where I was living there, and it was near the end, and they didn't sell. And I said, "Well, how much is this?" And she just said, "Take them away. Nobody wants them." Yeah, I'll take them away. But I read too many at once. I burned out on Perry Mason because it's formulaic. They're formulaic. You can't read too many in a row.
I've read one of his books or almost finished, and I can see the formula already.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but the problem is it works. It's just an entertaining.
Yeah.
Like the little killer old ladies, except it's 50s and lawyer and.
Have you read, Greg? Have you read any? Because I know Sean has. Have you read any Charlie Chan?
I don't, but I had no Charlie Chan. I don't. I know I have Fu Manchu on the shelf.
Fu Manchu. Okay,
I got that, and I'm gonna reread those through.
Because I have to say, because I think we've read the same, haven't we, Sean? We both read the first three Charlie Chans.
Yeah,
and they're totally not what you would expect. I think it's one of those things where people are reluctant to read it because they think it's going to be really caricaturish and racist and all, but it really isn't. And I have to say, again, it's not I mean, there's only 6 in total, I think, and they're really surprisingly very good. And it's a shame that nobody reads them.
Fu Manchu is racist.
Fu Manchu is racist, yeah, definitely.
I have not read them yet, but I guess it would be.
Well, if you're going to read them anytime soon, let me know, because I've got the whole 14, I think. I've got them all. Titan Books put them out here in the UK, and it took me a while to get cheap copies, and I finally got them all a year or two ago.
I think he's also available on Kindle. I think they're free by now.
Yeah, that's Roma's on the public domain. Yeah, and the Charlie Chans too. And I think you'd enjoy it, Greg. Really, they're very good and quite different. I think they're not like, I wouldn't say they're formulaic. But then can you be formulaic really after 3? Maybe not. I don't know.
I have a CD that I bought in early 2000s with like 12,000 public domain books. So I own 12,000 books in the public domain because I bought the CD, so they would count as a book that I own.
What, only as one book?
No, they would count as
yeah, but it's on one DVD. So
no, I count omnibuses. Is different. You can read one book out of an omnibus and count each one because.
Well, I did that. I was reading the Oedipus cycle the other week, and I have them in one book, but I tick them off my Goodreads as individual plays, right? So as I read them. So let's.
One last book I'm reading. I've already mentioned it and shown it, but here we go.
There we go again.
I'm also on page 700.
Oh, okay. So you're keeping pace with Alan there.
I think I got ahead of Alan, and then Alan sped ahead of me, and then
because Alan's like Steve, he never sleeps. So I'm having conversations with Alan when it's like 3-4 o'clock in the morning his time, 5 o'clock in the morning his time. Then I don't know when he sleeps, but Gareth has left the building. Alexis asks, any thoughts on Look Homeward Angel by Thomas Wolfe? Is it worth reading?
Yes.
Now, have you read the follow-up? What's the one of Time and something?
Is that the no, that's not the one that came out recently with the extra stuff? No.
No, it's his follow-up.
Yeah.
Look Homeward Angel. It's not the Homeward one.
Time in the River, is it?
Of Time in the River, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. I've read I think pretty well everything of him as far as I know, but I've not read the new sort of version of Look Homeward Angel that was the sort of all the stuff put back in that Max Perkins took out. I haven't read
that one either. Just the original.
But I do want to reread him again. He's one of the Southern writers that I really like, and he doesn't get enough talked about because other ones that I don't like get talked about. So, or like as much, I should say.
Congratulations on the Audible plunge. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I have to say, I took the I can't remember. I got maybe 3 months free, I think. Yeah. What's it? No, I can't remember now. Yeah. 3 months free, and then I took the Kindle Unlimited at 6 months, I think, for £20, and that hasn't really been worth it for me yet. Well, it's good for Historathon because there's a lot of books on there, but it's great for the magazine subscriptions, I have to say, because you get loads of magazines for free included within that, and if you were to subscribe to them on their own, it would cost you more than that.
And they're taking the magazines away.
What?
Amazon is dropping the magazine subscriptions.
What, the ones included within Unlimited?
I think they're just getting out of the newspaper and magazine business.
Question regarding the Audible. Like you say that you get the Stephen Fry Sherlock Holmes. Now, if you stop doing that, can you download it and keep that? Or
yeah, you keep it once you got it. Yeah.
And so it's an MP3, or what format is it in?
They have their own proprietary format. So you'd have to use it through their app on your phone. iTunes also plays it.
Okay,
I don't know this, but I'm presuming that the Android version of iTunes would also play it. But I don't know for sure because I don't have that.
Once you, if you get it for whatever length of time and then stop using it, you get to keep.
Yes,
but you would have to play it still probably through the app or something.
Yeah, because you have to download it.
There are audio stuff that I do like, and I have heard some of the Sherlock Holmes, and I like the sound of it. I like his voice, because to me there's hardly any people that read that it engages me. And there's some that are good, and I'll listen to them for their voice, but
well, he does also a big collection. He does a 2-volume, because I was thinking of using the other 2 credits I've got on that. He does 2 volumes of P.G. Wodehouse.
Yeah, I know.
One volume's the Jeeves and Wooster, the other volume's Blandings. So
yeah, what's his name did it? I can't think of his name. His sidekick,
Hugh Laurie.
Yeah, Hugh Laurie, Peter Laurie. That's
Peter Laurie. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeeves. That would be good though. Jeeves and Wooster with Peter Laurie and Sidney Greenstreet.
Oh, fucking hell! They
missed a trick with that. They missed a trick with that.
Yeah.
You need to get some voice imitators to do that. Just
get AI to do it, probably. If yeah.
Well, have you heard the radio program that was done here, the Flywheel, Shyster, and Flywheel, which was the original Marx Brothers, and they that was redone here, and they are really good at the voices. So yeah, you just get two people that are, Sydney Greenstreet impersonators and Peter Lorre. I love it.
Honestly, I still think we should do a massive kind of like Booktube collaboration with a public domain radio script and just have us do it. Have a load of people on it to do it. It would be great fun.
Well, find a good script.
Yeah.
Public domain
Sean,
script.
you know where all that stuff is.
Well, it depends what you want. Do you want drama? Do you want comedy?
I think, actually, I was thinking about this the other day. I probably should have kept it to myself, but why not? It doesn't matter. We could do an all-star cast version of like The Importance of Being Earnest, because I really imagine Steve Donahue as Lady Bracknell. The handbag!
Well, wait a second.
What?
We should all do it in drag, and then try to put out in like Tennessee or wherever they have illegal drag show. It's like free kids drag Importance of Being Earnest.
Yeah.
But I guess you'd have to get some women to play the men's parts then.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Peter says, are you going to read Promise Me Dad? Alan responds by, what the fudge is Promise Me Dad? Apparently it's Joe Biden's biography. So there we go.
I think that's more for me because I'm doing the presidents.
What did you say?
I'm doing the presidents. I guess maybe that's more to me than Alan.
Yeah, it could be, but I think you've got a long way to go before you get to Joe Biden.
Yeah, Joe Biden is way down on the list.
I thought something like that with British prime ministers.
No, do it with Canadian premiers, eh?
Well, the first one, it would mostly be about his drinking, and Greg just did that on cue there.
This is tea. This is nothing adult.
Yeah, but it's got the right color.
Omnipotent Poobah joined us. Surely there are other protagonists in US history who are also relevant, i.e. Kissinger.
I've read a Kissinger biography.
I have a friend who's been reading a Kissinger biography for the last 3 years. He can't get more than like 2 pages a night before he falls asleep. So it's obviously a wrong one. To be fair, they are reading it in a different language. Groovy Pop Tart, I loved watching Perry Mason reruns as a kid. I thought Raymond Burr was so cool. Yeah, he was good. He's in what's it, isn't he? He's the Rear Window, the guy in the window.
Yeah.
A great book on presidents is Catching Lincoln's Killer. I suppose Lincoln would be the first president to be that. I must have missed something there. Did we? Yeah, probably. Apologies. That's Bill O'Reilly's one, maybe. I
will skip Bill O'Reilly's.
Is that Bill O'Reilly the same crazy Bill O'Reilly from Fox News?
Yes, I believe so.
Huh. Okay.
I will not be reading his biographies.
No. Sax Roman isn't public domain. Yeah, but I don't. Well, I don't know. Yes, he is. Well, it depends where, though, Aaron, because I know he has a Delphi collection, and it doesn't matter because it's when the work was published, I think, isn't it, as well? It can be the lifetime of the author or publication, because Agatha Christie died in 1973 or something, and yet her first 3 books are in the public domain. So
it's complicated, at least in the U.S. It's death of the author plus 70 years. It used to be that authors had to renew their copyrights. If an author failed to renew copyright, then it fell into public domain. And there are also some thorny issues. I'm thinking of H.P. Lovecraft, who died in 1940 or something like that, or late 30s. And his publisher, Arkham House, filled out a copyright renewal. But the way they filled it out is they did a copyright on their collection. So if you pull out like my Arkham House, how they collected it in the Dunwich Horrors, you cannot reproduce that collection. but
So you
they
have
did
to
not.
mix them up.
They did it wrong. So you can publish your stories. They're in copy. They're no longer. They're in public domain, but their version is not public domain.
It's a mess because you got things like orphaned works and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff, and it's like what is in public domain. Like I looked into all this regarding the radio, the American radio programs. Most of those are considered in public domain, but then things like not Hopalong Cassidy. What's the other one? There's another. What's the big sort of Western one with Tonto?
Oh, Lone Ranger.
Lone Ranger, yeah, Lone Ranger. They're very hot on clamping down on the copyright of that. So it's really weird at how some are and some aren't.
It is. You know the Shadow.
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
They were in the public domain for quite a number of years. They did the research and they said these were not renewed in the proper way, and they got put out on Project Gutenberg, and you could originally download them. And when I bought my CD of ebooks, 12,000, all the Shadow books are on there because at the time they were considered public domain.
Well, look what's happened in Canada because they've changed their rules. So, like, James Bond in Canada is in public domain, but now they've changed the rules. I think it's staying. I think if it came out in the public domain, it's staying in the public domain. But now Canada's moved in line with the 70 years instead of the 50 years rule. So it meant that James Bond wouldn't have come out. But obviously in the UK and others, James Bond is still under under copyright.
Orwell in Canada was in the public domain for a long time because of that.
Enid Blyton was in Canada as well. So. Yeah, I'm just checking with Sax Roma, actually. I'm pretty sure some of them are. Yeah. So it is to do with when they are published for the UK, some of these at least, because there are tons of Sax Roma on Project Gutenberg.
Well, there's something else that's interesting. John Clare, the poet, who died in 1860-something, I think it was, or 50-something. And most of his poetry was never published. But it sort of sat in an archive in Northamptonshire Library. And Robinson, I think his name is, he was an American academic. He basically bought the rights for this, or he bought for $1, and he put out a set of 10 sort of, complete John Clare poetry. And says now they're in the copyright. He owns the copyright, so nobody can reprint Clare. And everybody just thought that was bullshit. And he says they would, and it was Oxford University Press and everything. And then so I guess it's about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, Faber and Faber tried or tested this, and people started putting out stuff. Other people doing edited versions, and it's never gone to court. So because I think they know that they're not going to do anything with it. He's been dead for over 100 years,
Yeah, but the interesting thing is if they weren't published previously, and this person's the first person to publish them, then I kind of see his point. Maybe he's being a bit of a dick about it, but
yeah, no, you do. But that's the thing. But other people were saying that because the copyright law is so iffy in some ways, what do you do with something like this?
You say his version is in copyright, and they would have to go back to the originals, and if they can, dig them out and publish them on their own.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But he was saying that you couldn't even do that because what he did was he used the original spelling and everything that Clare did, and most people fix up the spelling.
But if they were unpublished, did he own the only copies of them?
Well, he didn't own. See, that's the thing. He didn't own the copies either. I don't think.
Then I think he doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, that's like. But see, the thing, you can own the manuscript of something. You can own the physical manuscript, but you don't own the copyright to it. You can't do anything with that, with those words. You can buy somebody's manuscript.
Yeah, but if you own the physical manuscript and it's the only copy in existence and it's never been published, and you publish it,
but if the author is still alive, then you can't. You can own the physical copy, but you don't own the copyright to the words. You can't do anything with it. It can be that, but it can be because it's too late. But if the author's work is still in copyright, then that isn't copyright. You can't do anything with it.
You know, the real thing is there enough money in this guy to fight it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is there that much demand for him? Yeah. Let's
you know, when the U.S. did their copyright revision in the early 2000s, it was one company that pushed it, Disney. Because Mickey Mouse is going into the public domain.
It is this year. Well, Steamboat Willie.
And they say we cannot have Mickey Mouse go into public domain. So it's one company that changed that.
Greg's next challenge: count the books you own, including the 12,000. Have you actually counted the books you own as part of the challenge? So you didn't count them to work out. Peter the Book Lover finished The Bell Jar, and it was depressing. Alexis Darn, I get my SF&F magazine subscription through Amazon. Yeah, that really sucks. And it's like
I wanted to say that it just dawned on me again about the copyright thing is with back to the radio programs. These were done on transcription discs, like big records, basically. And there was some company, I think it was called Radio Spirits, bought up because people collected these things, and he bought up tens of thousands of these things, or a huge amount anyway. And because he said he owned the physical thing, he owned the copyright to them, and that was challenged. And that, you know, you don't. He did not own the copy. A lot of them didn't have copyright, but he wanted to then say that he owned the copyright to these things because he owned the physical ones. But then somebody else, another collector, has, you know, they're not the only ones around, you know. So, and then he just dumped them all at the Smithsonian anyway, I think, the guy. But that's the other thing with records too. Record companies have dumped their archives, their 78s and stuff like that with the Smithsonian, but they won't allow Smithsonian because they don't want to take care of it. The companies don't want to take care of it, so they give it to the Smithsonian. So they pay to take care of it, but they won't allow the Smithsonian to make money off it and release the stuff. And every year, you know, you get 1 year ahead. But yeah, it's a scam.
I'm not sure what Alan means about doing Agatha Christie's Virgin on MJ's channel.
There's the Agatha Christie challenge going on to read Agatha Christie, because MJ's never read Agatha Christie.
All right. Okay.
It's like read a Christie novel in April.
I would really like to do a Du Maurier month or something. I think she needs definitely.
I mean, I've only read Rebecca.
Oh, I really like her. I have to say, some of her short stories are great.
Oh, I've read The Birds too. The short
Birds are fun, and actually, the one that Don't Look Now actually freaks me out. I
have that one. I have not read it, but I have it.
I see. It's worth it. I think it's pretty horrible. It's yeah.
Well, get ready to do Vampire for April and May as well. Vampires.
Vampiril
and Maypire.
Parlabane, welcome. Jonathan Cecil is the definitive Woodhouse narrator for me. Can't see him ever being bettered. Alan, Greg, Chris, would Chris allow you to grow a Fu Manchu?
My wife has told me I'm allowed to grow a beard if I want a divorce.
Okay, what about a long Fu Manchu mustache? Probably she never specified that one, right?
I don't think I'm really up for a divorce for facial hair.
No, it would be a bit harsh, wouldn't it? But have you got the same agreement? If she grows a beard, can you divorce her too, or?
I guess. No, she did say if I go completely bald, I can grow a beard.
Okay. Stephen Fry, David Tennant, Neil Gaiman are my favorite book narrators. Oh, so does Neil Gaiman narrate his own books, does he? That's cool. Peter Book Lover, Murder on the Orient Express is fantastic. And Then There Were None is awesome as well. Aaron says,
fabulous book narrator, I think so anyway, is I always forget his name, but the actor's name that plays Hastings on the BBC, or not the BBC, but the
the ITV. I know he's brilliant. He used to play Wellington in the Sharps as well.
Hugh Fraser.
Hugh Fraser. Yeah.
And yeah, he's excellent as a book narrator, I think. And there's another guy that's really good. He was on two things. And I can't remember his name, but he was on the Larkins or the Darling Buds of May.
Yeah.
The young guy that comes in, and he was the sergeant on Heartbeat. And I can't remember his name, but he's excellent as well. You wouldn't think so.
Yeah. No, well, you don't know, do you? The Importance of Being Honest is a great play. Kindle Unlimited newsstand ends on 4th of September. Well, then I guess I know when my Kindle Unlimited subscription ends then. Outrageous. Sean likes Faulkner. Isn't public domain different in each country? It is. Although it's fairly uniform in a lot of countries at the moment. Steve Donahue. Oh, I hope he missed my what is this Rose Gallery I see before me, and why wasn't I invited? Well, you are. If you want to come on, let us know.
I want to reply to Alan. I think I've mentioned before. I read Faulkner long time ago. I didn't like him, but he is somebody that I want to revisit. But I didn't like him originally, but who knows? I might like him now. I'd have to reread him.
I'm really going to have to go through these because actually I just realized this is like 12 minutes behind it, Steve.
Go through.
Disney had an argument. Okay, yep, that's what you said there. Donahue hates Faulkner to boot. Joke for Steve. Why am I the only naked person at this gender reveal party? Steve, you've been casting the... yes. I read one of James Bond's books, Goldfinger. That's right. You expect me to talk? No, I expect you. I once got my hands on Sax Rohmer's copyright in the basement of the old Leeds. Okay. Prices skyrocketed on Bond books. Yeah, I guess that's because of the censorship thing. Fu Manchu, the character isn't in the public domain. That's why Marvel can't reprint its old 70s comics, and why Alan Moore couldn't name Fu Manchu. But it's on Project Gutenberg. So I don't know. Interesting.
But is there a difference between the character and then the works?
Yes.
Somebody owns. Yeah, they own the rights to the character, but they don't own the rights to the works anymore.
Like you can write a Sherlock Holmes story, anyone can. But some of the, like you said, the later stories are in are in copyright still.
So the character isn't, but the works are. So you can't make anything new out of it.
So in this case, the works are in the public domain, but the character's not in the public.
Yeah. So you can read the ones that have already been done, but you can't add to it.
Yeah.
And how? But who? Oh yeah. That makes sense, I suppose. Bond is a sweet spot for young boomers, harking back to a certain era. I never understood why they're so collectible.
I've never read any Bond books. That's the one thing I've never read the Bond.
I used to own all the paperbacks, and I eventually unhauled them, and now I'm going, dang, I should have kept those old paperbacks.
Yeah, I had various ones with nice covers. I just never read them, but I bought them, kept them, thinking I'm going to read them, but then I sold them to.
You see, I've mentioned this before. Is like I used to have these old paperbacks that I bought for like $1, like James Bond. You could buy them for $1. And it says, "Well, if I want them again, I'll just go pay $1 again." And well, you go back and say, "What do you mean this is $40 now?"
Yeah, like the old, there's various Agatha Christie covers that are really cool. You know, from the '60s all the way to the '70s, and even some of the '80s. Used to have tons of those. Now I don't.
What happened to them?
Well, I sold them.
Did you get much for them?
I used to have thousands and thousands of science fiction magazines, you know, from like mostly from post Second World War, and most of the major magazines that had them. They're gone.
Yeah. I do like the idea of a radio panto. Steve is the widow twanky. Yeah, it'd be kind of fun. Look behind you. Oh no, he isn't. You don't have panto in the States, do you, Greg?
Panto?
Yeah,
Not ringing a
pantomime
bell.
theater. I'm guessing you have it in Canada though, Sean. No.
Yeah, there is thing. I've never been to one. I've never been to one yet. But I think there is that kind of thing in Canada occasionally.
It's usually it's some, I don't know, let's say story like Aladdin or something like that, right? And they do a bit of I don't know if gender swapping is the right word, but like Aladdin's usually played by a young woman, and Aladdin's mom will be played by a man, right? But in drag. And it's very much harking back to like kind of, I don't know what, like 18th century theater and music hall and all this, and there's audience participation, and they put it on usually at Christmas, and they get often very famous, often some not very famous, but you know, C-list celebrities and stuff will play in it, and they play for like a month, 2 months every night. And you know, when there's like the bad guys coming in the background, all the audience shout out, you know, look behind you, and then like the bad guy says, I'm gonna kill everybody, and then the audience goes, oh no, you're not, and he goes, oh yes, I am, and they argue. It sounds weird probably, but it's a big and beloved tradition, and I'm sure Steve had experience of it in the Odeon at Leeds several times. So Steve's back. I think copyright should depend on use. If the property is still being actively used, micro copyright maybe should be eternal, or micro copyright should be eternal, but nobody should be able to sit on a fallow property. I think that's kind of a fair point. So
Yeah,
you know,
it would please the big copyright holders of famous works, but then again, they'd want to hold on to everything, like Jane Austen, although she's in public domain now, but they say.
Well, you say that actually. It's funny because I got into an argument over Jane Austen with one of these T-shirt companies. Actually, I'm wearing one now. Independent there. So I made this T-shirt, right, with Jane Austen and her signature, and then like this picture and whatever. And one of these companies, I can't remember which one it was. You know, a lot of people use them for their merch and stuff. You know, deleted it and said, you know, it's a violation of Jane Austen's rights. And I'm like, are you joking me? Jane Austen's right. It's obviously some kind of like person who has either no idea who she is or was, and all this stuff. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, that she's offended or she's being violated. She's been dead for 200 years. You know? Steve, I did send you a link if you did want to pop in.
Yeah, here the other things too that are weird, like I've mentioned this before on YouTube for the nudity. Like there was a book that I read, and the cover was a painting of a female vampire with wings, and she was wearing sort of the 1890s sort of, you know, stocking type thing. Yeah, or I guess that's what you, not a stocking, like a leotard, like a body leotard.
Bodysuit.
And what?
No, I was just thinking of George Costanza's Bodysuit Man in my head.
But yeah, it's like a leotard, and they took it. They're saying, oh, that's nudity, and it's like, no, you can't say it. It's just, but it's the kind of thing, you know, like those leotards. Like if you got a flesh tone leotard, are you nude? No, you're not.
Maybe it's suggestive. I don't know. A body stocking, Declan says. A body stocking, yeah. So Declan asks, will we be getting... Oh, where is it? Lost it. Will we be getting a tour
Steve was asking something. Was it, are you using the Phantom or...
Oh, sorry, hang on a sec. Declan, yes, you will eventually. And if you're not actively using the Phantom or Doc Savage, you should lose your copyright in 5 or 10 years, not a preposterous 75.
Yeah, but they are using those copyrights.
Yeah, well, the thing is too, it's like things do go in cycles that become, like, you know, a publisher wants money, so that like today they'll say, well, this isn't selling, so we're going to put it on the back shelf. but then 10 years later, it gets rediscovered, and then the person's still alive and they can't get anything from it because it's gone out of copyright. That doesn't work for me. But I understand the thought behind it, and that does make sense. But it's I think there's just too many issues either way. It's just,
you should have a time limit on when a work goes out of print. You have 10 years, 15 years, and after that,
or something like that. After the the person has stopped writing or they die, especially, it's like 75 years or 70 years seems a long time for their children and their grandchildren and great grandchildren to still have money off of that. Like their children, maybe their grandchildren, yes, that's it. But the umpteenth generation, I don't know.
I kind of like the renewable that if you are an author, you could renew your copyright, whatever it was, 30 years or whatever. And you say, this book is making money. Yes, I'll renew the copyright. Or, no one reads this anymore. I'm not paying money for the copyright. And then it goes into public domain.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? And that's a good point, Shawn, about the multiple generational benefit from it. Because it does seem
it's all about Disney. It's all about Disney keeping holding on to their Mickey Mouse money chain.
But you see, the funny thing is, like, is it really? I mean, how much Mickey Mouse does one see these days, right? Really?
I don't know. I never go to Disneyland.
But that's it. You don't see Mickey Mouse films. You don't see Mickey Mouse. What is it? Where is Mickey Mouse?
Merch. I bet Disney sells a lot of Mickey Mouse merch.
The funny thing is, kids today generally probably don't know much. I mean, you ask kids what Disney's put out today, they'll tell you it's the Avengers films or something, right? Or do they have Avengers, Marvel? No, Star Wars. They have. Disney has Star Wars now, I think. Yeah. So that's what they associate with. Most kids wouldn't even probably know who Mickey Mouse was now.
The Little Princess movies are animated to whatever.
Yeah, like the Disney princesses. Yeah, and this stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just can't. When I think of Disney, I think of Snow White. I think of Mickey Mouse and stuff.
Fantasia.
Like that. Yeah, that's Disney. But what Disney has become is not. And you mentioned the Avengers, and I go, well, I didn't know they Emma Peel and Steed was still going.
Oh, I've seen naked yoga on YouTube, Aaron. Yeah, full nudity. Type in naked yoga, naked men and women all over the place, and it's allowed.
Yeah, but right? my picture that showed the top part of a woman in a leotard in a painting, was not allowed because it was nudity.
Well, yeah. The difference between them, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, I heard something about that, Peter, this Winnie the Pooh horror movie, because Winnie the Pooh is also in the public domain now. So, is YouTube a publisher? Do we have the copyright for our videos?
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the same type of thing with Facebook. They say that whatever you put up on Facebook, whether it be poetry, artwork, they own it. And I remember reading something about high-level lawyers, and they were saying, "Nah, that it would never happen, or they wouldn't. It wouldn't happen because it's against all copyright. Because once you've done something, there used to be a thing that you had to mail it to yourself or something.
It's a poor man's copyright. You mailed it to yourself.
Yeah. But you don't even need to do that now. You write it, and you can show that you've written something before it went up somewhere else. That's your copyright.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it's pretty obvious that we own the copyright to our videos in the terms that we put them because we're in them. Like, we're literally doing it, no? I mean, I own the copyright to this one because it's on my channel.
You own the copyright to this one.
Yeah. So... The thing is, though, maybe Steve, you could think about getting monetized now because your children and great grandchildren could reap the benefits of your videos being played 75 years from now.
Yeah, but he's abandoned all his children. Him and they've been abandoned. So he
abandoned in the Odeon in Leeds. I heard a Steve track just then. Oh yeah.
That was me. That was behind.
I wouldn't know. I was told a friend. Oh yeah, the naked. I have seen it. I can vouch for the fact that naked yoga does exist on YouTube. Steve has a stack of his own. I was going to say porn manuscripts, sealed and mailed to himself. Well, there you go.
But you don't have to do that anymore. That's the thing. You don't need to do that anymore. I think that's as far as maybe still in the States, but I don't know.
So Steve practices the old Greek putting the babies in the jars thing, does he, and leaving them in the on the outskirts of the town? Huh? Horrid.
What's he always offering to make calzones? If you go visit him?
Calzone evenings, yeah.
Yeah, all children are only the calzone that you're eating.
I mean, how far are you from Boston, Greg?
It's a hike. It's above New York, so it would be a full day's drive or a plane ride.
A full day's drive or a plane ride. Bit too far to go for calzones, then.
A little too far for calzone. But one day I have to go to that bookstore, and
I think we all dream about going to the Brattle. Definitely. Yeah, I don't. I mean, Sean, you would know better than me. Is there anything akin to that in the UK?
There used to be, I forget what bookstore in London that would have their basements of stuff like that. They'd have a basement, but I think it's the bookstore still there, but they don't have the sale stuff like that. But you could get stuff that was really cheap and old, like antiquarian books as well. It was just stuff that they were getting so much stuff in, I think, in the 80s and 90s. This is stories that I've heard that they just realized that they couldn't sell it, so they just put it out for nothing pretty well. So I think it's gone. My local bookstore has a section that's £1, £2, and £5, and there's a lot of good stuff in there, but it gets picked through, and the same stuff, there's stuff still on the shelf, or there was, that was there 10 years before, and to me it should have been just dumpstered long ago. If it didn't sell in 10 years for £1, it's not going to sell.
Brattle video is uploading as we speak. Aaron says monetize the channel to support all the dogs left behind, unless he means kids. I don't know what he means there with it. Peter's last film he saw was Beauty and the Beast, the cartoon. And the last Pixar he loved was The Incredibles. Yeah, The Incredibles was a bit of fun. Angie says the difference is intellectual property. The creator always owns intellectual property, but agreements can mean others make money from the product.
Yeah.
And Omnipotent Poobah says London has a few of them, Charing Cross Road, etc., plus Bloomsbury, Scoob, and Judd's et al.
Yeah, I've ordered from Scoob. I've never been to Scoob. They've got a huge warehouse in Oxford, and I almost talked my way in there, but then somebody, when I actually got there, the boss showed up and said no.
Why weren't you allowed in?
Well, they just don't want people in there. It was some, it could have been true. We go, well, the health and safety BS that's here in the UK. So if they don't want something, they just throw that up, and most people go, oh, okay.
I mean, am I the only one that when I hear Scoob just thinks of Shaggy saying it?
Hey, Scooby.
Scoob. Parlebane, David's bookshop in Letchworth has a few carts outside, nice and cheap, well worth perusing.
Yeah, I've never been there, but I've bought actually online a book, and a friend of mine's been there quite a few times. Years ago.
Looks like Steve's practicing. Is it Sati? The old Hindu practice of burning your wife with you. Yeah, so dogs are selling houseboy were thrown upon his funeral pyre. Yeah, so
You don't throw dogs in a funeral pyre. Houseboy, I can maybe accept, but not the dogs.
well, I'm hoping the dogs at least have been put. I'm hoping Sherlock Holmes has administered deadly poison before they're put on there. That's true. So, well, I did send Steve the link, but I guess he's not coming. So, what was yeah? And what about around where you live then, Greg? Is there? I mean, nothing.
I live about 60 miles south of Washington, D.C.
Right.
We have one used bookstore, which is okay. It's nothing that I'd go to very frequently to browse and find good finds.
Mm-hmm.
You can find more if I go to DC. There's some good used books.
Well, you would expect
probably.
Yeah.
The problem is, at my last birthday, my wife treated me to a trip to DC to go bookstore. And it took about an hour and a half with traffic.
Uh-huh.
And then we spent 40 minutes looking for a parking space near the bookstore. So you spent almost 2 hours just getting there.
So my question is then, Greg, how long would it actually take just to fly up to Boston and visit the Brattle? Less time than this, no?
I've thought about that, going to like New York, where that has the Strand.
Oh yeah.
New York, a train ride I could probably do in about 3 hours.
Okay, and there's no parking issues, and you're straight.
No parking, because I live like 5 miles from a train station, so I can go park the train, get on the train, and go up to New York. I think it's about maybe 4 hours, maybe, but you get to read the whole time, take naps.
True.
You're not driving.
Video. You could start filming your vlog as you go.
I could, and it's something I want to do. My wife and I talk about taking a long weekend and going up to New York and just doing fun things. Boston, I think, is an extra 2 hours after that.
It's a long, for a long weekend though, because you could
for a long weekend, it's possible.
You could do the both of them, and you could stop off in Connecticut as well and say hi to Vin from Revenant Reads. He's only an hour from New York, so something like that. I think he said
something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about that.
Sorry, Vin.
MJ has talked about doing a weekend in gathering people for a weekend in New York. And
well, we'd love to join, wouldn't we, Sean? But it's a
little far for you guys.
I remember going to Washington. I was in Washington, D.C. in the 80s, and I remember some really good bookstores there. I can't remember the names, but there were some really good bookstores. And then in about 93 or 94, I went to the Strand. I was really disappointed. I was really disappointed in the Strand. I heard so much about it, and I was disappointed. It was way overpriced, and the condition of stuff was very poor. They have their carts out front, but Steve has said, they leave them out in the rain. Like half the books that I saw there were waterlogged, and I was not pleased, or it didn't impress me. That's for sure.
I have not been there for many years.
My local one has probably about 5,000 to 8,000 books that are, as I say, that are cheap. So it's probably equal to almost the number of what the Brattle has, but the quality depends on what they've got in, and it's not a consistent quality.
It isn't. The Strand, I think one of the real draws of the Strand is they had a basement where they had stacks and stacks of review copies of newer books. You're not newer, but like 5 to 6 years old, something like that. Oh, hello, Steve.
Oh, it's time to leave.
And you can get these older hardbacks for like half price or less.
Yeah, the remainders.
But that may have changed. I mean, I have not been to the Strand in like 20 years.
I don't. When I was there, either they had the basement closed off or something, or they didn't have it anymore, and that's mid-90s.
I heard they closed their basement. I have not.
Yeah, so it must have happened around then.
I don't know. I've never been. I just think it's a shame because I'm sure Prague would have some amazing ones if I could actually read the books
Here's
that were
so
there.
much on the Hay on Wye about where it's now crap, and it used to be good when there was the one guy that actually ran it all. But it's now crap. But I've never been there, so I don't know.
I was there, but it was in the 90s was the last time I was there.
And
And
that was
they're all different shops, yeah. So
yeah,
it's
but
not like
owned by the same person. They
I
were
don't know.
owned by the same person. I think.
Were they? I don't know.
Well, Steve's shaking his head, or going yes, so he must know about it.
Well, yeah, once upon a time, it was far more individual. It wasn't. Now it's swarmed with dealers, so there are no. You can't. Someone isn't emptying their basement with a big box. Here's a bunch of paperbacks. I am now a bookseller for today or whatever. No, nothing's informal at all. Now it's all dealers. Just you can still find stuff, but you can't find anything cheap. Once upon a time, for 5 or 6 years in Hay on Wye, you could fill the boot of a car with great finds. That isn't possible anymore. Not at all. Now it's just a gigantic book mall. Although it's really pretty. It's really pretty. It's a great way to spend a day. But for instance, here in the United States, in Connecticut, there's a place called the Book Barn in Niantic, Connecticut. That is everything that Hay on Wye used to be. Your $100 US will go an enormous way at the Book Barn, and it's huge. It's sprawling. It's 5 buildings. There's a petting zoo. There's a koi pond. It's just amazing. Just incredible.
I think Vin actually did like a vlog on it. He because
did
he lives
over a year ago.
Yeah, and it looked amazing. I was thinking, oh my goodness, it's like a labyrinth and like just
It's
so
incredible.
much. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
All I think of with the 5 buildings is John King in Detroit, where this guy's got these warehouses that are full of books, and there's a lot of books there, but you could spend hours there and not even see one thing that you may be interested in, and you just think this is a lot of crap. It's like every book that nobody wants in the world ends up at John King's. but he's got this nice collectible like building that's really good, but that's all, that's separate.
Well, at the Book Barn, they've got a trestle table right as you pull in the driveway where the buying is done in almost all weathers. And they don't want crap. They turn away as many books as they take.
Is that where really you went with Mark?
Yes.
I think,
yes. He and I were up in Vermont a couple of summers ago, and we were having a wonderful time. And then I just happened to see a map. I thought, wait a minute, we could do this. It's a long drive, but we could do it. So we decided we would do it, and it just happened to be the hottest day of that year. It was unbelievable. But Frida loved it. We had a great time. It's an amazing experience. What was that?
How long has it been there? Because I used to go to in that area a lot in the mid to late 90s into New York and into Connecticut. So I don't know if it was there then.
Listen, I went to Connecticut for any reason other than the Book Barn. You couldn't possibly have gone. What reason would you have?
The area because there was a remainder houses there. There were book barns all through the area, and then
I don't know how long Book Barn has been there at all.
Yeah, because
it is a wonderful day to do. You drive all the way to get there. You're mouth watering the whole time of what you're going to find. Then you've got all these different buildings. There's an enormous amount of area right in the middle that's dollar books, much like the Brattle, only a huge amount of them. And you just fill tote bag after tote bag after tote bag. And
well, now, Greg, how does it compare? Because obviously you lived before you were living in Washington. But you visited Portland, and they have that Powell's bookstore. Is that something similar to the Brattle? Or?
Powell's is probably the largest used bookstore in the country, I think. They have like 5 floors of books, and I've never been able to explore everything there. I usually get wrapped up in a couple floors, and then you figure out 2 hours have gone by and got to go do something else. And if I lived in Portland, Powell's would be emptying my petty cash because they have, last time I was there, they had a spinner rack of old pulp paperbacks. And I'll take this, I'll take this, I'll take this. And then they have regular paperbacks. They have a vintage room, which I never even stepped into because I think they have guards on the vintage room because I think some of those books may actually be very valuable. So you can find the valuable books in there. But it's just the best bookstore, as I said, was Powell's, followed by the Strand from 20 years ago. But now the Book Barn and the Brattle, I have to figure out a way to do a long weekend or two.
Well, at least you moved to the right side of the country for it. Sorry, Steve.
The Strand from 20 years ago was amazing. Back when they used to have, that was the place where everyone in New York brought their review copies.
Yes.
And you would go down into the basement and there was an entire wall, 15 feet tall, just going on, and a whole support wall full of review copies. That was sometimes when I would go to the Strand, that was the only thing I looked at. And then they got heat for doing that and reduced it enormously and also hid it. The basement of the Strand is like a labyrinth. There's a little blind alley where you can go to find them. I don't know if that's still there.
Yeah, well, like I said, in the 90s, I don't remember getting into the basement. Wasn't anywhere there. There was no entrance to the basement that I knew of when I was there, and I was really disappointed with Strand in the 90s. But Powell's, I've been to the Chicago branches. And Chicago is where they are, if they still have it, is the Remainder House that fuels a part of that. And it's in a massive factory, and it's amazing to go in. Like, it was I forget what it did, but it had a train that went through the friggin' building. You know, there was a train track that would come in and load up whatever this factory did. And it was just, and they had all sorts of stuff. They bought out a warehouse of AMS publisher that the warehouse was falling down, and they just sort of bought everything that the whole stock left of AMS. So for years they had hundreds of AMS books, all sorts of stuff. It was amazing. So I could just think of, because all that was feeding Portland. That was feeding the store in Portland, and I'd always wondered what it was like.
I'm just so jealous because literally when I go to the bookshop in Hradec Kralove, the old German Königsgrätz is what it used to be called. Literally, the English section is pretty much what you can see behind Greg. So every time I go, all I've got to choose from are just these two bookcases. So,
does that mean the books behind Greg are for sale?
No. But which one would you buy?
The Nadas.
Which one?
Over your left shoulder, the Nadas.
This one?
Yeah, I might be willing to go as high as $2.
$2? Ooh.
No. Even though I own the Kindle version as well.
The Book Barn used to be a big, when I would go with friends from Boston, it was an all-day thing. You would take 3 hours or 3.5 hours to get there. Then you would spend 3.5 hours shopping there. Then you would have lunch, because Niantic is a seaport town. It is a seaside town, so there are plenty of seafood places. So we would finish at the Book Barn, and then we would go to a place called Dad's, where the busing station at the end, where it's a tray that you put all your food on, and you're supposed to empty your tray into the garbage when you're done, and it's a huge plastic hippo with a mouth open. So you just dump your food into the hippo. And I never quite knew what to do about Dad's, because we would drive there with our tons of books. We want to be talking about books. And the sign on Dad's said, "Fresh seafood caught today." And then you get your tray and it's full of seafood, and you go out to the back veranda because it's a beautiful day and you've got picnic awnings and whatnot. And you look out across the bay to a nuclear power plant. Okay. I'm not so sure I want it to be caught today, at least not here.
Does your fish have 3 eyes?
I know, like on The Simpsons. I kept thinking I would pull a Mr. Burns and go.
This must be a nice, relaxing experience for you, Steve, as the comments are not really like, shooting up and uncontrollable speed. So, Demu, I was in the Brattle in 2018 and had to check a second case full of books back to Ireland. I'm going again in November this year and just can't wait.
Demu, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Did you go to the Brattle without me? Is that what you did? Is that what this is? A kind of confession?
Were you making videos in 2018 Steve? I don't know. I 5 years. I thought is that
we made
2018
videos by 2018.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, we should say happy.
I do for you people, and this is the thanks I get.
we should wish you happy St. Patrick's Day, Steve. Of course.
Yeah.
So.
I don't deserve St. Patrick's Day or any stupid fake plastic store-bought Irishness. If you want to wish me a holiday, there is a holiday today that does count. It's called Evacuation Day. And just get your minds out of the gutter. I wanted to head Mark off at the past, so to speak, because that's right where his mind goes.
Is it that obvious?
I was thinking...
It commemorates the evacuation of the British from Boston. They occupied the town of Boston. They quartered soldiers in private homes.
I'm sorry. I mean, did they occupy it, or was it theirs to begin with? No,
they occupied it. They had guns trained on it. And a British soldier, no matter how low in rank, could walk down Washington Street or King Street or whatever, pass by a butcher's window and say, "I like the cut of that. Give it to me." You had no choice in the matter. We were an occupied city. For years, we were an occupied city until cannon was brought to Dorchester Heights by surprise at night, so that the next morning the British in their warships woke up and saw that they were under the guns of the enemy.
One cannon?
A whole row of cannons were brought by oxen from Canada to Dorchester Heights and implanted there and put in embracers in secret. So the next morning, the British had warships
stolen from Canada.
No, one from Canada.
One? What's
the British had warships at anchor in Boston Harbor. They woke up that morning and saw that if they didn't withdraw, issue the order immediately to withdraw your troops from the city and pull your ships into the shipping lanes, we'll blow you to smithereens.
I don't understand how the British
fire back. You're literally.
I just don't understand how the British can occupy a British city.
It was a free city, same as all the other cities on the seacoast. They didn't have the right to quarter soldiers in private homes. They didn't have the right. Did
you have the right to destroy tons of wonderful tea? No.
Yeah, we did.
But the thing is, too, like you say that the cannons came from Canada, so they were British cannons trained on the British.
By the British.
They were won in Canada in battle, and they were brought to Boston by a bookseller. So kudos to Booktube.
So where were they brought from then? Like you say, so was it from York or was it Quebec City?
Yeah, they were brought from Quebec. By Henry Knox.
So they're French cannons.
Yeah.
Says a lot there.
The opposite.
I guess, which means they worked for a while and then they quit abruptly.
I thought the French cannons haunted people.
Greg.
This is Evacuation Day. Boston, alone of all the cities in the colonies, underwent British military occupation, and it ended today. So far better that than the people from Dorchester and Southie who are already drunk on green beer at 10 in the morning. I'd much rather have Evacuation Day than say
green beer.
Just imagine what it's like in Dublin, though, already at this time. It's 8 o'clock at night. So
Yeah, and it will be that here as well. There's a college street here in Boston, Lansdowne Street. All the students go there. It's going to be dime beer tonight, so there'll be rivers of vomit in the gutters tomorrow morning.
I can guarantee you, when I go out to dinner tonight, I will not order green beer.
Yeah, well,
I might order a real beer, but I'm not a green beer.
We have green beer here, though. On I want to say it's for spring. It might be on. Is it Maundy Thursday? Yeah, because in Czech they don't call it Maundy Thursday. They call it.
Sure, they don't.
They call it green. They call it Green Thursday.
Even if they call it Maundy Thursday, they won't call it Maundy Thursday in your accent.
Oh no! They call it green. They call it Green Thursday, and they have green beer.
It's the Czech Republic. They don't call it Green Thursday. It's Saint Stanislaw. Everything is Saint.
No,
Stanislaw.
it's all right. It's Zeleny Stretek. If you need to know. So it's terribly difficult to say Thursday in Czech. Yeah, Stretek.
Why doesn't the whole country learn American?
You know, I'm doing my best. English, rather. Sorry, English. Jesus, you're confusing me. Quick comments thing before I get too stuck. Have digital PDFs replaced physical review copies?
No. If you are a book section editor, physical review copies are very useful. Often you are underpaying your freelancers. You got to give them something to work for. I can't send somebody a PDF and expect that.
A PDF is a horrible format.
Yeah.
It's just hard to read a PDF physically on a device or on a computer.
Hard actually to do a review of one. It's no, they have not. They did during emergencies, during COVID, but that emergency is largely abated now. I wish that some publishers would get the memo. Things are back to normal. I am not your underling. I do not need to beg you for approval. It'd be great.
Steve, will you be rereading any Irish tales for St. Patrick's Day? Obviously,
I do not celebrate St.
that. No. Will you be reading any British evacuation tales?
You know, Sean, wasn't there a novel set in occupied Boston? I could swear I remember one of those plush old John Jake style historical novels where a Boston maid falls in love with a red coat. I could swear I remember that. But it did well.
It could be, yeah. I don't. There's so many books that were historical things in Boston because it's popular, but that does sound familiar.
Oh, I think it was popular and I can't remember it. Anyway, I have a question for everybody else, if anybody's up for it.
Sure.
It is now the middle of March, and I have in front of me a collective 400 years of experience on Booktube. I'm wondering, what do you think about Booktube right now? When you start your week, when you start a Monday and you look to the week ahead and you think, what is my booktubing going to be like? Does it make you happy? Do you look forward to it? Does it make you as happy as it once did? More happy? The same? What do you think of Booktube now?
So let's go around the room. Sean, we'll start with you and go around.
Now, Sean, aside from me, aren't you the most prolific of the four of us?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't do anything, but
yes.
I try to put out one a day at least now. And yeah, it's sort of something thinking that I do if I'm having a really good reading week like I did a week or so ago, it's a pain to stop and do a video. Like I'm finding that now because I'm getting back at like there's times that my reading is getting really, really good.
Wait, so you're saying that on a really good week, Booktube gets in the way?
Yeah.
Ooh. Isn't that the reverse of what most booktubers would say? They would say, if I have a really good reading week, I finally have something to talk about.
I usually wind up talking
about they get self-conscious about the fact that they don't have new books to talk about. I'm constantly telling them you don't need to get self-conscious about that. It's you we're tuning in for, not your reading list. But
yeah,
that's interesting. I've never heard anyone say that before.
Yeah, because when I the week that I was reading the Mysteries of Paris, your favorite book, Steve, that really went well. Like my reading that week was really good, regardless if I would have read that or anything else.
I want to stress
was
that when you
reading-
mentioned the Mysteries of Paris, I did not tell Frida to yawn. She did that. I agree with it completely, but I didn't tell her to do that.
But the thing was that I was reading, so I just didn't want to. I didn't want to break that up because my reading has been so fractious over the last couple of years that I didn't have sustained periods of reading. So now I'm finding when I do have these sustained periods, to stop and do a video is a pain.
Oh wow!
In some ways, because if like I either do a lot of videos is because I can't read during that time, and so I'm doing something to fill in sort of time, and it feels like I'm doing something book related as well. So I still enjoy I enjoy Booktube because it's my only outlet to do anything book wise. It's because otherwise I would just read and just pile the books up and that's it.
But no conversations.
Yeah, no conversations at all.
So, well, Voxer, you would have at least the contact with the people you know from Booktube.
Yeah, well, yeah, that I would have that now, but before I would never have that. And and then every Friday somebody drags me in to do a live here. Sometimes if they force me to do it on my own channel.
What about you, Greg?
Well, I do a lot of reading, of course. I don't have a lot of other hobbies, especially where I live, but I often find I have to adjust, like, how many videos do I really want to put out per week? I've got a fair number of subscribers, like 1,200, but I don't get a whole lot of views. So I try to adjust and say, like, how many videos do I really want to put out, and which ones are popular? I had a couple which, for whatever reason, go viral, like 1,500 views, which for me is really amazing. I mean, normally I'm like 200 maybe, but like I did one on the Western canon that had this incredible number of views. And I don't know why that one took off. The video itself was just ordinary. So I try to balance it. I do like making them for the most part, but some days I'm sitting on my deck, I'm reading, cat's on my lap, and going, do I really want to disturb the cat and go make a video? No, I just
another example where Booktube gets in the way of reading.
Sometimes.
Especially watching does. That's the thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't watch as much as I probably would because I'm reading. If I'm not, but we're talking to basically. I'm the only one here who has a job, really, like that I have to go to. But it's true. So that does cut down a little bit.
Day job.
Day job. A real job. And to be honest, if your reading is your job, right?
Circus Reviews and Publishers Weekly consider that I have a job.
No, but obviously you're reading for your job as well, right? So the time you're reading is actually your job time. Whereas, of course, there's hours and hours in the day where I can't read, I can't make a video.
Is this a cryptic reference to pants?
Might be. I'm the only one of you who actually has to put on pants every day.
I think my wife would tell me to go put on pants if I walked around the house without pants.
That's the only reason that I was late joining the live stream, is that I was making comments on my tablet at my leisure, which meant no clothes at all.
No clothes at all.
And I figured that wouldn't go over well, so I should probably not only switch venues, but throw on some nice little ensemble.
Well, I've done a video in my dressing gown before, but that's about it. Not only my dressing gown, I did have a t-shirt on underneath, but it was cold. It was like -20.
But wait, if you're finished, if you're going to climb down off your high horse about having a job, okay, if you're going to do that, surely you mentioning a job is you leading up to saying that we are 3 for 3 of people saying that Booktube gets in the way of reading. I mean, isn't that the point you're going to make? That your time is so limited that you have to decide between making videos or reading?
Honestly, sometimes, I love making videos.
So do I.
I absolutely love it. And I could just come on and talk about nothing. You know, I would be quite happy to do a live every day.
Don't you always?
And just tell everybody about my, yeah, don't I always? And just talk about my day. You know, today I got up, I had a piece of toast, walked Elvis, you know, he pooped 3 times, you know, whatever. That wouldn't bother me.
Add 50 years to your life and you'll see. Practically like getting an engraved invitation from the Queen if it happens.
I meant Elvis, not me.
Oh. Sorry.
The thing is, I do, of course.
Invite me on, I should say.
Yeah, it's my own fault.
Your co-hosts are looking more and more dubious.
I do love obviously making the videos, and I love reading. Sometimes for me, I unlike the rest of you, I'm quite a slow reader, so I get impatient with my reading pace that I can't keep up. I can't read fast enough to make more videos to talk about the books I read. And this is why you'll often see videos of mine that are not directly related to the books I'm reading, because I'm going to be reading them for a good while. Yeah,
those conceptual videos are really good.
Thank you.
But okay, so you're not a fast reader, and Greg, you're not a fast reader either. But you have extra time,
right? I don't have a day job, and I have a couple chores around the house. But other than that, I take naps and read.
You see, I wonder, Greg, when you say you don't have a day job, I'm wondering what you're doing at nights.
Also, chores around the house? I thought you said you had a wife.
My wife has a day job.
Oh, quiet.
She's still working.
So in this breakdown, Mark is a slower reader with less time because he has a job. Greg is a slower reader with a little more time because he doesn't have a day job. And would I be right in assuming Shawn and I are faster readers? Under normal circumstances, of course, there was a year where Shawn had a heart attack, COVID, and bubonic plague.
And went blind.
A little bit of hysterical pregnancy, too. He just had it all at one time in 1 year. Is that about how we work out here? Two relatively faster
reader is you, Steve, and I never was. But
isn't Mark forever joking with you on your live streams about how much faster a reader you are than he is?
Well, I do have more time. I suppose so. But it's just because I figure I got more time, but I really only have a really good day these days is 6 or 7 hours of reading. That's it.
But apart from reading, what about Booktube? Does it thrill you? Surely at some point in all of our paths on Booktube, the idea of it thrilled. The activity itself thrilled.
Still does. I get such a buzz from it. And
it does, but go ahead, Mark.
No, please, Greg. You're the guest.
It does, but sometimes, like I said, I'm just not in the mood to film anything. I got an idea that I want to do, but just getting motivated to go down and make something doesn't always jive, you know?
Mm. I do get that. I do get that. But I think it depends, because I know there are a lot of people out there who really prepare well for their videos, whereas I have to say I come up with it. Sometimes I'm going to be lying in bed in the afternoon reading, and then I get distracted. It's like the Roald Dahl thing, right? I was trying to read my book, and I thought, I don't know, got distracted on my phone, or what's on The Guardian? What the hell is this? And I just got out of bed, came and made the video.
That got everybody talking.
Which shows it. It was an emotional reaction. But I don't have time to prepare those videos very well. So for me, I don't have that. I don't think, I'm not in the mood, because I just make them when I'm in the mood. It's not, I don't need, some people script it. They spend hours editing. I mean, I certainly don't edit the ums and ahs. I might, if I make a glaring mistake, I'll just cut it or something. But generally I don't bother.
I'm the same way. I never script. Sometimes a video does not go the way I want to, and I start over, and it's completely different. Sometimes there's some things that match, sometimes there isn't. And I rarely, like I said, I rarely edit. I did recently buy some editing software because I do try to put like covers when I read digital books, and doing it on my iPhone is just, I got so frustrated with the iPhone that I said, okay, it's $60 a year. I'll just buy the editing software. But I'm not going in for a lot of special effects. Like some people like zoom in and zoom out when they want to emphasize something. I'm going like, why?
I don't know how to do that anyway. But like your friend Bad, is it Bad is Rad?
Right. Bad is Rad. She does a lot of amazing editing work.
Yeah. You know, she does a lot of work
But
on her
she's
videos.
talented and she's good at it, and she likes doing it.
Yeah, you pretty much have to do it because you like it.
You have to.
You can't do that because you're thinking this is the road to riches.
Yeah, I'd like to do videos that were not scripted so much, but more planned out. And that I don't do, and I'd like to do it, but again, it would take more time away from reading, and then if I can't read, then I'm not going to be able to do that either. Like it's these things, but I can get on and usually prattle for a little while, so that's what I do. And the thing is, it's because of it's almost 2.5 years now, or it's getting, well, no, 2 years and a bit, that I haven't been well. So when I do get times that I feel good in order to read. So therefore, I try to maximize that, because I know probably next week or tomorrow I could be in a slump, and I can't do that. And then that's where I'll make the videos when I'm in the slump. And that's probably the wrong time, because it's noticeable. Like when I glance at some of my videos, I notice that, yeah, because I'm not firing on all cylinders here when I'm making these videos a lot of times.
But I wonder for you, Sean, if the, because obviously, you know, your booktubing contributes financially to you being able to buy books, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a strange cycle for you. So if you kind of then maybe have to take part in Greg's challenge when you don't make videos, because your book buying capability will then decrease for that month, right?
So I've often wondered,
does it become like a job, and then you feel like, oh, I'm tired? Sorry, Steve.
Your Booktube conversations, your Booktube involvement, all these people out here, what are they thinking? Who's going to disagree with me? Who's going to agree with me? Here's what I think about subject X, Y, or Z. How will I put this? Surely that is helping with COVID brain.
Oh, it does. It does.
You wouldn't have any of that if you.
Yeah, and that's it does. Like thinking of things and you know, analyzing something to even a greater or lesser extent does help. But it's sort of like my only outlet for enjoyment really is reading. So when I do have a good time, I fall back on the reading because I want that enjoyment.
But what about the feeling of doing it? I'm getting a sense that Mark and I are pretty much on the same page of eagerly looking forward to it. Is for Greg and Sean, is that the same? Could you picture yourself gradually losing interest in doing this? Not through any Gotterdammerung, no dramatics at all. Just, I did it for a while. It's diminishing returns. I'm just gradually losing interest.
If I don't change and I don't do more analytical or more thought out videos on subjects, I could see that possibly happening. It's not something that I would have said this even last year, but now I can possibly see that happening. So therefore, I've got to change in the way I do things to make it more interesting for me, more thought out videos, a little more research into things, rather than just going flying by the seat of my pants. Like I hardly, like, the only time I look up something and write something down is of a date, because I can't remember a date. Everything else is off the seat of my pants, and that shows. And
well, that's got to be tough, seeing as you're not wearing any.
But
just a figure of speech.
Yeah. But the thing is, so if I continued the way I'm doing, I could possibly lose interest. Yes. And I don't want to, because I do enjoy doing it, but it's like I've now been doing it for, is it I started in 2020, so this is 2 years,
3 years.
3 years. So it's 3 years, just over 3 years that I've been doing it, and I need to make a change somehow. And that's why this year I decided at the beginning that I wasn't going to do a bunch of other stuff. It was just going to be the books that I read. That was mostly of the videos that I do. And that's what I do now is I'll talk about the books that I've read and not too much about other stuff. That isn't quite filling the need for me. So I need to do something else.
But I think if you had the opportunity to have, like we were talking ourselves about, you know, if you can eventually get a monitor and some slightly better equipment and stuff, you will have maybe more drive to do other things related to how you make your videos, right? Because you have the more time to put into doing it.
Yeah, because I can't do any editing, and that's the thing. I do want to do editing because there's videos that I want to do. But I need to put pictures in or clips, and I need to put this stuff in to make it, rather than just talk about, you know, film and say that, you know, the lighting is great in this.
Okay, but you say there are videos you want to do, you just aren't in a place where you can do them yet. But my question is, why do you want to do them? Why do any of us want to do this?
Oh, well, yeah, that's I enjoy doing that kind of thing. I guess it's more. It's maybe not doing the video is the enjoy as much of the enjoyment. It's the end product of the enjoyment of getting to that stage of doing the research and doing it. It's like anytime when I was in university writing doing the research for a paper or anything like that, I found that enjoyable. I found the task of actually doing it and the completion was, well, I already know that. I've already solved the problem. I've had my enjoyment. Let's move on. But you need to do that final bit.
I don't know. I mean, I actually, so I'm not doing it obviously to get, you know, tens of thousands of, you know, I'm not chasing YouTube fame. However, I'm not going to lie when I say I do get a good feeling when people like my stuff. You know, when I get it, there is a kind of dopamine or something when you get a nice comment. Even, you know, if it's one comment on the video and the person says, "Oh, Mark, you know, I really appreciate what you've done or what you've said," that does kind of remotivate me or keep me motivated doing the videos, because I think I don't love it enough to just do it for myself, because I could just talk to myself, which I do anyway when I'm not filming it, right? So even with an audience of one, I'm happy. But when you get the feedback and you see people like those videos, I think, yeah, well, you know, that's really nice, and that does make me even more enthusiastic about it. And then, of course, you know, like any kind of fix, it keeps you coming back.
Yeah, like I said, I like to discuss these topics about books and book-related topics. Like I love talking about the Roald Dahl and the James Bond, because that's something that really engages my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of real-life people I can go to and talk about. I mean, I can go to my neighbors and say, you know, what about this Roald Dahl and James Bond and the sensitivity readers? They go, you want to play Samba? In a card game? And that's what I mean. They like playing cards. That's what motivates them. That's what interests them. And I'll go in and play cards every now and then, but for the most part, it's just like, let's get some meaty topics.
We see. I think that's a nice point, because if we were all living, say, in Boston, this is probably how we would be spending a Friday night, either down the pub or somewhere with a couple of drinks, talking about the stuff that we're doing.
Right here for Wine and Calzones on Friday night.
I would say
a little bit far.
I lament the fact that I occasionally go out for beer and chicken wings with the neighbors, and it's fine, it's fun, but the conversation, you have to be so careful, because no big surprise is I'm not very Christian and I'm not very conservative, and a lot of my neighbors are Christians and conservatives, and you can't have a lot of these conversations with them.
In the 21st century, you can't.
No.
In the 20th century, it was absolutely understood among adults that since there was no agreement on those kinds of subjects, we would all avoid them. Now you dive right in. Now they're the only thing anybody wants to talk about is tribal identities.
But you know, so that's why I want to do more videos about topics, and I have lots of topics in my brain. And my problem is, like, can I do this topic justice? Can I really put out what I want to say with an unscripted video?
But why would you worry about doing the topic justice? That's never stopped Mark.
That's true. It's absolutely true. You know, because I think no,
but
I honestly think some of the time, because people say I speak quite nicely, that I can speak rubbish and people think it's so intelligent.
On Booktube by a
Sorry?
wide margin. You have the poshest accent on Booktube, even among the British booktubers. And you know why? Because you were raised in the colonies.
Yes. But I think that means I can talk shit and people think it sounds good.
Can and regularly do.
absolutely right. You know,
there we go. Who cares if you're talking shit? I mean, like,
exactly.
If you were, like you said, if we were all in the same town, we would get around, have a couple of beers, not green beers, regular beers, have some chicken wings or something, and just shoot the crap all night and come home.
I think this is partly, I think, why I do it. And as you said, you do it, Greg, is that we are, you know, able to cross geographical boundaries and actually meet with people who, if we were lucky enough to be in the same town, this is, as I say, what we'd be doing anyway. Yeah.
Somebody put up the thing back about the monetization, because that's the sort of the elephant in the room a lot of times for things. But the thing is, and because I am monetized, we're half and half, I guess. Yeah, we're half and half monetized and half not monetized. So that and something that I've mentioned before, and Mark received an email about me. Tell me, what did they say, basically, Mark?
If you give me a second, I can actually probably bring it up.
Well, when you talk about monetization, I just discovered, was it this month, that my channel's eligible for monetization. I always thought it wasn't, because I'd click on my channel, another bibliophile reads monetization, not eligible for monetization. So I said, well, I don't have my hours or my subscribers. And then I checked my normal, you know, because I have a brand name channel instead of a named channel. I checked my named channel and I am eligible for monetization. And I'm going, you know, maybe that's some information I can let slip out on a video that, because another bibliophile name is a brand channel. It's a child of my regular Gmail YouTube channel, which has 0 subscribers and 0 videos. But it's my real name. It's how I subscribe to YouTube Prime. And
so you weren't even looking in the right place to find out.
Right. because it flows down to where the actual money's coming from me, because I subscribe and pay for my YouTube under my normal channel. So I've been dithering about that.
So what would that be? I mean, you've got 1,200 subscribers?
Something like that.
And you just became eligible.
I think I've been eligible for a while and have not noticed.
So what would that be? If you agreed
Pennies.
to it, how much would it be per month?
Not much. Now, the only thing that it'd be good for is, when I was a computer programmer and working a regular day job, I had a boss who said I should have a home-based business. He says, you don't have to make money on your home-based business, but you want a tax write-off for your home-based business. You don't have to make money, but every book I buy is now tax deductible. If I buy a new Kindle, it's tax deductible. If I go look to a bookstore, I can put the mileage to the bookstore as a tax deduction. Now, the problem is I'm not all that worried about tax deductions. It might make a little bit, might save a couple $100 here. And how much time I going to be putting in my thing? I drove 10 miles to a bookstore so I can write off my mileage. It's just not worth it.
Well, you've got 500 books to read first before you can do that anyway. So
yeah, you'd have to pull down those videos.
No, I just say, oh, I bought a book. My challenge is over. And then, start writing it all off. But
It's
is it
it's
worth it?
interesting.
Is it worth all the time I would put in to get $40 a month, maybe?
Well, you see, my reasoning behind it in the end was, YouTube's getting the money anyway, and I'm spending, say, let's say maybe $100 a month on books. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe less. I don't know. I can't exactly. I don't know. But what I am estimated to earn, and I've only got just over 1,000. I haven't even got 1,100. But I'm actually, it's easier for me to say, let's say I'm spending 4,000 Czech crowns a month, maybe, right? And I'm earning half that on YouTube. So I'm only spending 2,000 crowns a month. So it is paying for half the books that I'm buying each month, which I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, I can't convert out of barnyard chickens. What is a crown?
It doesn't matter, does it? Just think of it as just a number, right? So, okay, let's say, okay, I'm spending $100 on books a month, and YouTube is giving me $50. So I'm spending now $50 a month, for example.
Like that point of yours, they're making the money anyway.
Well, I might as well have it. That's that, and I think, because it does cost me more than the rest of you. I don't have the luxury of wonderful secondhand books. I'm having to buy most of it new. I don't mind. I'm quite happy to do that, but it does cost, especially when you're buying English books in a foreign country. So for me to have half of that paid for now,
Well, that's the other thing I was thinking is, like, if someone is seeing my videos and seeing a commercial, why shouldn't I get my couple pennies out of that? I mean, I can't stop them.
What determines it? Is it hours or subscribers or
there are two things. You must have 1,000 subscribers, and I think it's either 4,000 or 5,000 watch hours.
What determines when it goes up? What factors make one channel make more money than another?
The number of people watching.
Oh, okay.
Now, here is one thing that I have noticed is beginning of last year, somewhere where I think I hit my watch hours, my subscriber counts actually stopped growing as much. And I think that because I'm not monetized, that YouTube algorithm dismisses my channel as something that you don't have to worry about. It's just it's a guy making videos. But if I were to monetize, then maybe they'd be more willing for the algorithm to push my videos more. That's something I don't know.
Well, it's in their interest. If you're monetized, it's in their interest to push your channel more.
So what you're sorry to say is that maybe I should try monetization.
And Shawn, you said your monetization eases things for you. Definitely does.
Yeah,
a little bit.
It's helping. It's helping now. Even though it takes me about 3 months to 4 months to get the minimum, which is $60 or £60, the minimum amount, and then I could use it either to buy some books or, which I have been doing, is buying some extra food, fresh food.
Yeah, I remember when you made a video. I don't think you named me, but it was pretty much a response to me. And I remember when you said, for some people, a little makes a difference. It makes a difference between having a little and having nothing. That was real eye-opening. That really was. That was.
And like I was gonna like Mark, if you got that thing, and this is still
I've got it actually. Yeah, I pulled it up. So I received this email from an email address that starts. It's called Insipid, so might give you something. It says, "No, dear Mark or anything. Regretfully, I must unsubscribe to Shawn, spelt incorrectly, to Shawn's channel due to the onslaught of the intolerable volume of commercials he has allowed secondary to his prostitutionary selling out to the system from sheer greed for dollars."
Yeah.
They send it to me to pass it on to him.
Yeah, and then
even though his email address is in his things.
So they go to work. They're prostituting themselves when they go to work to get some extra money to pay their house, their food.
Oh my!
Like that,
I have to wonder how much of that kind of crap I'm responsible for railing against monetization. Boy, oh boy! If I inspired lunatics like that to,
well, the thing is,
I want, like, obviously, I would love to make more money on this, because my income now, because it's I'm disabled basically because of COVID. I can't work, so my top limit is this, and there's things that I can't do, and living where I am. This is sort of like I'm going to play the violin here now. But like living where I am with other people around, they spray perfumes. I'm deadly allergic to perfumes. I almost died a few weeks ago, like a month ago, because I basically stopped breathing. My oxygen levels were just under 50% by the time the ambulance, the paramedics got here. So I was in dire straits, but I can't do anything about that. Or I can do something. I can move. How do you move with nothing? So
happy to help you remove the books.
Yeah, well,
you can just pop around to the pub. I'll take care of it.
but I need, but regardless, I need money. So it's the kind of thing, and I'm hoping that I can sort of work out things that in maybe 2 or 3 years that I can save enough money to actually move somewhere where I don't have to have people that are doing this kind of thing.
An island in Scotland.
I'm
or perhaps a custom-made house in the Czech Republic.
You could have a long-term debt.
That was a bad idea for you to broadcast that.
Yeah, no. So
Frida and I are planning to spend our golden years.
And I love
that gothic horror, Shawn in the Attic or something.
Shawn in the Attic.
But it's the whole thing of like I'm prostituting myself. Well, okay, if that for that person, yes, I'm prostituting myself to get somewhere so I can actually not die.
Well, you should be like the woman in was it in Greg's book, and just prostitute yourself to billionaires.
Yeah, well, that was in this one.
Oh, that was your book, yeah.
I read that one too. So
I read it too.
Oh, I feel left out. I better read it.
you know something.
It's just it was just absolute fluff, but it was fun.
Read Power of the Dog if you're going to read one of his books.
Yeah,
Power of the Dog.
Read Power of the Dog if you're going to pick one. But
yeah,
it's so much fun.
But nothing happens to the dog, right?
There's no dog in the book. That I can remember.
Right.
The
a phrase
who
from Spanish.
Me said they're going to get me the second one, which is coming out on the 18th. So I'll read it because it's enjoyable. But I wouldn't search them out at this point. That's for sure.
I should just have a quick look at the comments because I'm sure people get a little bit frustrated that I haven't really looked at
a live stream where you can let the comments go this long. That is just amazing to me.
Oh well, you choose on. You just choose to put them on, so I can actually choose which comments I highlight. Because I have
the same problem on when I do my lives. It's comments are very hard to get talking and they get behind.
It's more about finding a community with similar interests in the world that's so isolated with people. Yeah, I think there's
I don't know if that doesn't apply to me, and I wonder,
not to you.
What I'm doing wrong. I have tons of people to talk books with.
Yeah, because you're so young and hip, and
you live in Boston. I live out in the sticks of Virginia.
I think if anyone lives anywhere like far away from civilization, it's probably me.
Okay, you were further out than me. That's true.
I mean, I don't know, my town, it's not too bad. I mean, we got 9,000 people here in this town. I don't know how does that compare.
So
yeah.
Well, no,
if no paved streets, still horse-drawn wagons.
Yeah, we don't even know what toilet paper is here or anything. It's terrible. Yeah, the funny thing. Well, actually, that's the funny thing is because like monetization actually kind of can pay for my YouTube Premium, which means I don't have to watch the ads that I make other people watch. So
I pay for YouTube Premium.
It's worth it. It's really worth it.
Yeah, but Kevin is saying here you won't see the ads, and so anybody who pays or has the premium or use ad blocker, that means every view, like the person who is monetized won't get anything.
No, that's not true. If you look on the monetization tab, you get money from YouTube Premium, like if it's Netflix. Yeah, the ad blocker not, but YouTube Premium, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Although
that.
channels can still be overly infused with ads because advertisers know that you can use ad blocks, so they pay lots of people to do an in-video ad where you're
Yeah.
talking and you say, yeah, before we get back to the subject, here's a word about NordVPN, and you just recite the commercial yourself.
That frustrates me.
That really annoys me.
Prostitution project. That's my next level on prostitution, is doing in every 3 minutes an in video ad.
Well, I
Right,
myself,
sorry, everyone. Sorry. Speaking of prostitution, I want to recommend this particular brand of profile. So it's like,
I myself am grateful that Shawn is putting some foresight into his prostitution. He's actually planning things out. You don't see that in young people.
See, the thing is, if I was really doing that, I would not be making, and I would not be reading the books that I do, and not be making the videos on, the kind of books and topics that I do if I was hunting down the money. I definitely would not.
Omnipotent Poobah asks a very good question. Steve's gig, whereby they send him books, is that Steve is an active reviewer. So publishers send him books. And I would very much like to get reviews from all three of the gentlemen in this live stream. And if they did it often enough, publishers would send them books.
oh, nobody's sending me any. Trust me.
No,
one
the
wants to
thing
send
is,
it to the
I've
Republic.
thought of going asking for review copies, but do I really want to read the books that they want me to review?
Well, all three of you have channels big enough so that you could legitimately ask for a review copy just to showcase it, which plenty of YouTube channels do anyway, where you aren't to review. You just hold it up and read the cover copy.
I've tried that, and we'll send you a PDF.
Oh, yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah,
no thanks.
That's probably what they'll do, but you could still do that. PDF is still the book, right? It's that you would otherwise pay $30 for.
Yeah, which I would take me, depending on what it is, a long time to read and have difficulty reading.
Greg, you're one quick UPS plane ride away from where all the books in the world are made. you could easily say, and just showcase the book, just hold it up, read it, talk about it, say when it's coming out, show it to people. That's 1,000 people who are seeing that, who wouldn't otherwise have seen it.
No, I don't get 1,000 views on most of my videos.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I really want to try to spice up my channels, though, get more views, and not quite happening.
Because we were talking about that, weren't we, Shawn? That Shawn's got what am I? 1,060, and Shawn's got 1,600, and I have around double the amount of views he gets.
You do,
and I was in a very strange situation because for 6 months I had 6,000 watch hours, but only less than 1,000 subscribers. So for most people, they get to 1,000 quite quickly, and then they don't monetize because they have to get the watch time. I was very lucky. A lot of the people who subscribed to me or whatever were actually watching me, or there are a lot of people who were watching me but weren't subscribing to me. So it was like
now you can look at those numbers. I often find that interesting to see. Yeah. That's where you tell what people are really enjoying. It's not the subscriber count. It's the view count per video. So you see somebody like Michael K. Vaughan, just the view counts are through the roof. People watch his videos all the way to the end and they love them.
But it's funny sometimes. Like there was someone I came across the other day, I forget the channel name. They didn't have like a huge number. I think they probably had 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers. And I was looking through their list, and they had one video that was 62,000 views, another one that had like 29,000 views. And that's what matters. So like, in your case, Shawn, that would be a massive boost. Well, for any of us, of course, really, in terms of if you're monetized, that would be great. But yeah, because the actual number of subscribers in the end doesn't really matter. If you had, enough subscribers to be monetized, so you had 1,001 subscribers, and yet your videos were being watched, nobody else subscribed, but you had 100,000 views a month, then it's a nice little nest egg.
It seems that, or at least on mine, it's about 4 pounds per 1,000 views.
Yeah.
So you just think if you got 20,000 views,
But
Or,
actually,
sorry,
Sean,
is it view? Yeah, per thousand. Yeah.
yeah, but Sean, they actually, depending on the video, it can change how much it is.
It does.
So
Yeah,
there's usually a range between $3 and $5.
Yeah, on average.
But it depends what you make videos about, because something, if you talk about finance, you can be between something like $5 and $12 per 1,000 views.
But apart from money and views, is Booktube still exciting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but it would make it more exciting if I had more money.
No, more views to get more money, right? That's the key. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I would do it even if I, didn't. Well, I did do it. I haven't, I haven't changed anything.
Right now, I'm sorry, Mark. I do it because I'm getting to meet people, even though not in real life.
Oh yes,
that are actually becoming friends, and
right.
And
that is absolutely real.
It is.
There's nothing virtual about that. It's absolutely real, and it would only happen this way. It would never happen any.
Like I'd never been able to do. Like I really enjoyed doing the Desert Island books, and I got to talk to a lot of people of this, and it's just I guess I haven't started it back up, and I don't know if I will. It's basically because I don't. The quality of the thing is really bad because I'm using this, and there's all connection problems and all sorts of things. So.
That's the thing. It's almost like your vision is loftier than the capability of producing what you have in mind, isn't it?
The way it is now, yeah. Like I want to do things that I can't do, so I just do whatever I can, which in the long run might actually harm doing the other stuff later, because I've got so much stuff that I guess could be seen as inferior in comparison, but I don't see it as that. But it's in some ways it could be.
I think
always thought what a burden it must be to have lofty vision. I'm so glad that I don't have anything like that. I can't imagine what a burden that must be.
I don't know who said it, but somebody said in the comments. I don't know if it was Aaron or Parlabane or Omnipotent Poobah was saying that I thought this was nice. Regarding the Booktube question, there are times when I wish the format was not YouTube and it was something more portable like Spotify, so could listen in the car, on the tube, etc. And I've heard a lot of people say that they like listening to me rather than watching me, which I can quite understand. But I think that means a little bit then perhaps the visual aspect isn't that important, maybe, and if you have YouTube Premium, of course, you can treat it like a podcast. And I don't know if anybody else noticed, whether it was today or yesterday, when you go into your YouTube studio, there's now a podcast.
I know I have not visited that. But no, like you said, it's like most of my videos don't have a lot of visual complexity. I mean, I like to put up the book covers, but that's about as far as I want to go for the most part. I don't want to go down that editing rabbit hole where I said, well, in this, just cut out that because I see some videos where it's very choppy, and they're cutting out their ahs and their ums to make themselves sound more intelligent, but real people speak with ahs and ums all the time. Some are better.
I'm glad that Groovy Pop-Tart is enjoying Booktube. Very happy to hear that.
But yeah, I sometimes listen only to, like, I put my phone down, I'm like washing the dishes or something, and I just listen. And sometimes they'll be holding, they talk about a cover, and I have to go back and look in the cover. But a lot of the times you can just get by with just listening.
I think because if we're talking in real life, we're not editing it. If we're all sitting around Steve's, hearth eating pizzas and calzones, we're umming and ahhing. Steve's not saying, "Wait a minute, go back." Let's cut out the umming and ahhing as you speak. I think there's a charming.
For me, there is a very discreet 10-pound reason why the visuals matter in my videos. There's a 10-pound reason why people watch.
Oh, is that 10 pound on behind your back?
Yes.
Well, one of my last videos, I was just recording, and then I looked back and they would say, "Oh, my cat is just looking over a bit." And no one's mentioned the cat yet. He's only in there for like 3 seconds. But one of my favorite things on videos is when you have an animal photo bomb. When you're just doing your normal video and all of a sudden I'm talking, the cat jumps up. Cat doesn't know I'm doing a video. And I'm thinking, okay,
Actually,
now I got a cat.
in your cat, it probably does know. That's why it's jumped up.
Oh.
So.
I tend to like them too, but I watched a video once by a health YouTuber. She was filming the video on her desk with a microphone right there, and the cat walked up to the microphone, photobombed the video, and then for about 15 solid minutes, there was only one part of the cat that was visible, and it was completely visible. It was the aft torpedo tube, and I was staring at that the whole time. I'm not paying attention to what you're saying. I know you think I am.
I have had to readjust my cat on a video because it's like no one wants to see that.
You can't tell me that's not intentional.
Who knows what's in the mind of an animal?
Especially cats, they are funny.
The other thing that I was sort of just thinking about with, I guess the other question is, why did each of us start? I think that's an adjunct to your question, Steve, because I started my Booktube channel for a completely different reason than why I'm doing it now, more or less. And that
it wasn't to talk about books.
What? Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't something that it wasn't a lifeline in some ways. It was just something that I would do, get on, and do a few videos because I was on holiday. And I sort of, the main thing that made me want to do it was watching other sort of, young adult booktuber videos and stuff like this. And then when they hold up a book and they say, "Oh, I found this old book that's from the 80s and stuff like this." And I'm going, they're going to wet themselves when they see my stuff, So I started.
Sorry.
I totally agree with my comrade Mark that they're going to wet themselves when they see my stuff is the quote of the day.
It's the name of Sean's sex tape, isn't it? Or something?
Well, I got lots of stuff. They can wet when they see my stuff.
All the people in the comments section have been saying they really like these multi-voice conversations. They're all changing their minds now.
Well, the problem is, of course, though, we aren't that diverse, though, are we? To be honest, for a lot of people these days, we're primed to get ourselves in trouble.
Diversity is overrated. Oh, and Groovy Pop Tart says they've made a few related videos but don't have many views. Well, the reason for that, Groovy Pop Tart, is because nobody likes you.
Oh, she's just new on Booktube. I'm glad she's here, and nobody likes you.
Welcome to Booktube.
No, I didn't know you had a channel.
I didn't know. See, if Groovy Pop Tart were to subscribe to my channel, put a comment, I'd go and subscribe to hers and give her a couple of views. And
I will, of course, subscribe.
You know what? Why? Of course.
Likes you.
I'm not like Steve at all, but if you get on Steve's channel somehow, when Steve plugs you, it makes a difference. I know there are 33 people watching here, at least. Go and subscribe to Groovy Pop Tart's
I just did.
channel. It would be a nice thing to do.
Sean, if you're going to show us that you just subscribed to Groovy Pop Tart's channel, it'd be nice if you could clear the porn off your phone.
Hey, but it's me, so that's okay.
I've just wet myself.
Yeah, that's still too bright.
But I'm always
sure that by this point, Groovy Pop Tart is having second thoughts about all of this.
Will she have a channel in the morning?
No. The channel in the morning will be makeup only. It won't have anything to do with books. I don't know these people.
Well, here's the thing: if you want to make money, gardening videos. My wife never watches my channel, but she watches gardening channel with millions of subscribers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
DIY.
pickleball.
Do it yourself, home repair, makeup videos. They do it like
So
crazy.
I'll do a pickleball video. I'll just get a ball. Will that work?
You know, what Greg says about meeting people is absolutely true. And the most important part, I mean, Mark mentioned that he could just turn on the camera and just talk about his day. I bet your views would be no different if you did that, because the people who are tuning into us are tuning into us. They're not tuned. Even your video on a Roald Dahl, people were responding to that because of how much it was obviously bothering you.
Yeah, it was. It did touch me because it was a very beloved part of my childhood, and it's something that was connected to me actually. So it was an emotional thing for me, and I'm not an overly emotional person.
It's a very important topic right now. Because what was it? I was watching someone. It was Response Criminale's gatekeeping on science fiction, and his comment was the real gatekeepers are the sensitivity readers, who are monitoring what people want to read to make sure that nothing bad gets through.
I was so worried. I saw that video from Stephen Andrews, the outlaw bookseller, and I knew it was going to cause commentary. I knew it was. I wasn't happy about the part of Ollie's response where he included me as a gatekeeper just because I had the nerve to say that some book talkers are idiots. I don't think that's an arguable point.
That's not gatekeeping. That's just commentary.
But that video on the right ways to use words connected with science fiction, I was watching that video, and the whole time I was thinking, okay, are you going to sit across a table from Mark Richardson and tell him that he's been doing science fiction wrong for 50 years? Are you going to tell me that? Stephen Andrews was in that video who's saying, if you don't use the right terminology, you're going to seem like an outsider. He kept using that term. Like, I'd want to be an insider in science fiction, but it was obvious that what he meant is if you don't use the terminology that I sanction, you're not a real science fiction fan. How many people are going to watch that video and think, well, screw this? I'm interested in hearing why you like some terminology over others, but I've been reading this stuff and loving it longer than you have. At least that was that was my reaction. And I like the guy. I think Ollie was right about him, though. There was a strong element of gatekeeping in that video. Very strong. Do it the right way or don't do it at all. Or go back to reading, your YA fluff or whatever.
Now, see, I did not see gatekeeping as more. I mean, I see using correct nomenclature as important. Like I never use sci-fi to describe science fiction. It's just something I've never done.
No, but isn't there a point at which correct terminology simply loses? I mean, if you were in casual conversation with someone and they mentioned that they just finished a quincunx, wouldn't you think they were the mother of all pretentious morons? You would think they were a twat, as Mark would say.
Twat, probably Mark would say. But
nobody uses quincunx as the term for a 5-book series. Nobody does that.
Well, I can see why. I can see why.
Either. It's just terminology, sure, but I mean, what do you make of the rest of that video, where he says that there are only 3 types of literature, and then science fiction to him is one of them. It's just,
well, when a long time ago, when he came on and said, I'm an expert collector and you need to listen up and listen to what I say, that was the last I ever watched.
Yeah, it grates. I don't know why he's doing it, but there really isn't a way to flash credentials when it comes to this sort of thing. There really isn't a good way to do that.
Because the funny thing is when I see people like that, and most of the time when I know something about the subject they're talking about, in science fiction, I know a few things, and you see things that they say that are absolutely wrong, but they're saying it with such force and people in the comments do this, and I shake my head at that, because it's like, nobody's an expert on this. Nobody on Booktube is an expert in anything, really. They're just, they know certain things, and they know what they know, like a Rumsfeld.
Well, I think the thing is, it's just the same in all walks of life now. Whoever shouts loudest,
Yeah,
seems to be taken as that's the right way to do things, and it's just frustrating, because a lot of people shout loudly, you notice, and you say things the wrong way, and I just can't. What was I reading? I read something. Oh, Whoopi Goldberg. I don't know. I was reading something that she got in trouble on what's it called in America? The program she's on. It's it's Loose Women in England, but it's got another name in America.
It's called The View.
Yeah, and she said, what did she say? Did you hear about it? I can't remember what it was. She said something, and then she used a derogatory term for Romani people when she said somebody was gypped. Now, I didn't think about that either until I read it. I thought, oh yeah, of course I can see that now, but it's just part of language that's been used, for a long time, that you just think I don't know. I don't think she can be expected, especially like on a live. Is it live? It's a live show, isn't it? I think to actually be able to check herself. It's actually check herself like that. It's difficult when things are rooted in.
It takes time. Yeah, it absolutely takes time. The colloquial expression for being gypped, in other words, being shortchanged intentionally by someone with that goal in mind. 70 years ago, the common popular expression for that was that you were Jewed.
I know. I was about to say that. It's like Jewing down.
So
I never heard that one.
I never. Well, I knew the Jude one, but I always heard gypped, and I never until now. I never connected it with gypsy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I never did, and I would never have connected it with that.
She had to apologize. She had to come and say, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I was unaware." And it's just like the fact that
she handled it right.
Yeah, but people are sitting there.
Actually, I should say, just since we brought him up, that Stephen Andrews, the Outlaw bookseller, also handled the furor of his video correctly, I think. But even so,
a lot of these terms,
right. Like Gareth is saying here, that he's in his 50s, has been reading science fiction his whole life, and that's absolutely true. If you have been in a position, as I have, or Sean, or anybody, to read mountains of science fiction in your life, and then you turn on that video and be told, no, you're doing it wrong. Nobody wants to hear that. There's no good way to do that.
I don't know. It's very what is it? He says, so true. Whoever shouts loudest or proudest. Yeah.
But what you think is like, it's so true. Is like, it might be generational, because like I said, when I was growing up, I learned about this whole science fiction sci-fi from Omni magazine, they had a part in there. I think it was in the subscription guidelines. Don't quote me on something from when I was a teenager, but they said, don't use sci-fi.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. What's
the industry doesn't like the term. Boy, though, did you keep your issues of Omni?
No, unfortunately,
I did.
Now they're worth hundreds of dollars, probably.
Bet you wish you
did. But that's the thing. It's like you say, words change over time. And I am fairly certain, even though sci-fi was in use, it really became popular with the Sci-Fi Channel. That was the tipping point.
Well, they spell it wrong as well, don't they?
Not now. They used to spell it sci-fi. And what's odd is, because when they talk about the old days sci-fi as being the lower end of science fiction, that's what the Sci-Fi Channel was. It was the lowest of the low.
Wonderfully so.
What?
Usually wonderfully so.
but in a way, I understand the rating, because you've taken a term to describe something and you've made it universal, or trying to make it universal. So I can see the pushback too. But how do you do that in a way?
You should definitely weed out, but it's not worth a pogrom.
No, ignore it.
Yeah, well,
have the people use the correct terminology in the correct circumstances, and just sort of ignore the people's use of sci-fi. instead of pointing your finger at them and saying you're doing it wrong. Just don't use it that way.
It would have been my preference if he had just ignored it. That's all. You don't judge who knows or loves science fiction and goes back a long time with it by words they use. You judge by what they say, not terms that they use or don't use.
All this thing of the terms, and this is the one thing that I've said over and over. Like I've talked about the sci-fi thing, and people sometimes misunderstand what I'm trying to say. But it started out with so many different people, like the academics and our semi-academics, using a term, wanting to give a term to something that was not like the John W. Campbell science fiction. So they started this, but then other people took it at conventions. They took the term in a different direction. So you had these two things going at the same time, and it's still going at the same time, because you still got academics that will, the older ones, that will still use sci-fi as the more popular and not thought-provoking space opera stuff, and SF and science fiction. And some of them will even go as far as saying not using capitals for the SF either. It's got to be lowercase SF. You don't put capitals in it. You know, it's just so fractured with all this stuff. But I find it interesting of how it's gone that way. And like, I'm fine with somebody using that term, because then I'll know what they mean by that. But then when somebody else uses it in a different term, you need to understand how they're using it too. And it seems to be loggerheads a lot of times. And that's too bad, because it's all fun stuff. And I've said before that, and Theodore Sturgeon was absolutely correct. Is it Theodore Sturgeon? Yeah. 90% of it is crap. 90% of all fiction is crap. But your 90% and my 90% are different things.
I thought we canceled Groovy Pop Tart. She's back. I thought we canceled her.
Oh, Sean,
That would
obviously.
be Mark. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm the oldest, but you know. I don't know. I don't want to correct you, Anne. Maybe I'm wrong. Is it Welsh on a bet or Welch on a bet?
I really don't think that the term for not honoring a bet derives from the Welsh nationality or the word or Wales. I really doubt that. I don't know etymology though. We should get one of Sean's reference works behind him and find out where it comes from.
I don't know why I thought it was Welch's. You Welch on a bet.
Welsh.
Or you Welsh on a bet. You Welch.
I don't know. Welsh.
But Welch is grape jelly, isn't it, in America? So that probably
Welch
isn't
is
right
right.
either. Welch is great. I don't know. Yeah, but it's that's an interesting one. I'm a fan of Harlan Ellison, and he rants fiercely about the term, but he's divorcing himself from what he doesn't like. Therefore, it's not honorable. It's loaded, says
Harlan
Gareth.
Ellison came to mind when I was watching that Outlaw Bookseller video, where he was he wasn't directing it at me, but he was constantly referring to me as an outsider to the genre. And I wanted to say, I've read more of this stuff than you have. I was reading it before you were reading it. I've written more reviews of it than you have. And I've sat and talked with more of its authors than you have. If I'm an outsider, so are you. And Harlan Ellison he ranted fiercely about a whole bunch of things at the drop of a hat. He didn't like sci-fi, but he was really insecure.
Yeah, well, the thing is too, he had a specific, that's the thing. Everybody has I think things they like and they don't like, and they create their own little world of that a lot of times. And Harlan Ellison did, and he had a big platform for it. But it's the thing where he's going back to, because he's of the generation that, like Greg was saying, that when sci-fi was used by the academic types, it was meant to be this stuff that you would never call Isaac Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, or they would never call that stuff sci-fi, because there was more depth to it. And so that there is a difference. See, I always maintain there's a difference between these type of science fictions. So are they all science fiction? No. they are, but they're not the same type of science fiction. So therefore, somebody and people like categorizing stuff, and they want to categorize it. It's like you with your romances, Steve. They're all romances, but there's Highland Scottish romance, there's Georgian romance, because they're different. They have things that are more common with themselves than the other subgroup of it. So that's all that was meant to be, was the sci-fi. But then you do get pretentious people that want to say that, oh, I don't read sci-fi because it's simple stuff, like the Forgotten Planet that I just read. I reread Murray Leinster.
Oh my God.
That's fun. It's great, but it's not high level science fiction. And to compare this to maybe, I don't know, your favorite science fiction writer, is not going to hold up.
Okay, so Welsh comes from horse racing and gambling in 1800s England and was considered an insult to the Welsh. But did it originate from the name Welsh? Sure, it was considered an insult to them because it sounds like them, but where does it come from? Did it originate from people saying, well, the Welsh will renege on a bet?
Yeah, like
if it did, then why the alternate spelling?
I think we're getting interrogated by Peter here. You are not younger than all of us. Let's leave it like that, I think.
You're literally almost grotesquely older than I am.
Yeah, double, eh?
People,
are we all college educated? We might be.
We are.
We might be.
Might be.
I never went to college. I went to university.
But I'm University of Life, eh?
University, not college.
Hamilton says it's like the term rom-com and sword or sorcery. I have no problem with sci-fi. To me, it's a term of endearment. Steve, have you ever read? No, just kidding. Okay, that's right.
You see, I can't banish him from someone else's live stream.
Yeah,
he knows that. So he's skating by on a technicality. Although on my own live streams, I thunderously banish people and they just stick around.
What the hell is tentacle romance?
Oh.
Like Japanese tentacle manga.
Steve will know the romance tentacle once he's talked about it. I don't know them.
Well, you're the only one out of us who has an OnlyFans channel, Sean. So
tentacle romance is when a boy meets a boy, but the other boy isn't human.
Oh, so it's like aliens.
The minute he gets excited, appendages start appearing.
Several.
You see, I was going to do a shifter romance joke, but it'd be blob fishes. Do you see a picture of a blobfish?
I've seen those. Yeah, they're pretty grim.
I was just about to say how interesting it would be to have a romance with a blobfish as a character, since when they get sexually excited, they emit chemicals that are deadly to their mate. And then I realized, oh wait, that's women.
Well,
it's great, isn't it? You can say what you like on other people's channels, can't you?
One of the weird ones.
I'll get you canceled, not me.
And I won't say who it is because I don't know if they actually said this on a video, so just in case. But they read a romance story. It was more of an erotica story of balloon animals that were brought to life.
I could probably guess who that was.
I'm not, but don't say it because I don't know.
There's a thriving subgenre of erotic fiction about people who have sexual relationships with cars.
Okay.
Not where they are aroused by the idea, but where they have physical relations with cars.
Well, it's like Greg with his books. I mean, he's another bibliophile who reads.
But they look so well ordered.
You just have to watch out for the paper cuts.
But what are there's like, I saw something where some documentary, I want to say it was Louis Theroux or somebody, but there's a whole group of people who are into dressing up and behaving like animals. Like they're called furries. That's it. Yeah.
Just learning of this, are you, Mark?
Yeah, well, I'm innocent and young, and I don't know. I'm not a man of the world like the rest of you.
Steve, was that another introduction at the Leeds Odeon?
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's
No,
a term
it's the
86
basement of
something
the-
about porn. 80s where if you can conceive it, someone's made a porn video about it.
Yes, except in the 80s it wasn't true. There was
No,
no
this is
furry-
86. Is it like it's some sort of terminology? Like
Oh, right, yes. There was
I've
no
heard-
furry community in the 80s.
no, there wasn't. But
That
the
is
the
that
term
comes
80
from anime. But
something 86 term about there's porn subject for everything. If you were to go to a porn site and do, I don't know, blobfish and something, maybe you find something.
Give me a second.
we've wandered far afield from a discussion of how excited Booktube makes us.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, these are all things that get you demonetized. So this is great.
Well, yeah,
But-
with my prostitution bent. I guess that's a bent. I don't know.
Plus tentacles.
I don't know if we can say bent anymore, can we?
Well,
Why?
now I'm starting to wonder about the what are the yardsticks of monetization? If I monetize my channel, what would I get per month? It would be small. It would have
How
to be
many?
small.
Yeah, but how many views do you think you get across your channel?
15,000 subscribers? Something like that?
14.
14. And your watch
Well,
hours are pretty good. So you'd make a couple $100.
I don't know where I would find my watch hours.
It's in the
Somewhere in analytics.
Somewhere
yeah,
in analytics.
analytics, and it'll say how many in the last 28 days. If you click on it, it'll say channel analytics views. Mine's dropped now again by about.
Yeah, because you're not making any videos. That's what I'm saying.
I have the last couple days. This week
Ah.
I've been making videos.
But it's not, that's why you have to make a lot, isn't it? If you get a lot of views per video, you can make less videos if obviously you're doing it
Right.
for the money. But
Yeah,
if you don't get a lot of views, you have to make a lot of videos.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a friend who is a
When I
full-time YouTuber. He has a huge channel, and he always talks about payday. And for him, payday is I want to make a video that will make me money so that I don't have to make another video for a month.
Yeah.
Or for a week. He usually likes to make one a week, but it has to make a certain amount of money or he can't cover his mortgage.
He's professional. This is a full-time job.
Big time professional. Yes.
You see,
he's
when
got
I
a
was
huge channel.
last year, when I was doing four videos a day, some short ones and stuff like that, different subjects. And now at most I'm doing one or generally one a day. My views have not really changed. And
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
wow.
views have not changed for that. But the amount of money has dropped big time. And that I can't figure out. It's dropped like about 40%.
Wait, go over that again?
Well,
there
okay,
has to be a reason for that.
You get about 7,000 views, anywhere from about six and a half to a little over 7,000 views in a 28-day period. And that's what
Okay.
I've been doing for the last over a year. And when I was doing 4 or 5 videos a day, I still maintain that number of views, but the amount of the ad revenue was more, but the same number of views. And
Total number of views.
Yeah.
But you got more ads when you made more videos.
Yeah, that must be it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and the watch time hours were about the same as well.
Yeah, but there's also something like you own, even if you don't have an ad block or you don't, so if you watch enough YouTube, there's only a certain period where you get bombarded with ads, right? So you don't get ads every single video that's monetized. When you've watched, say, you've been watching YouTube for half an hour and you click on the next video that is monetized, you may not get ads for it, because even YouTube has a thing, I'm sure, because it's happened to me, where I've clicked on a video on my, I don't know, say school account, which isn't whatever, First 3 maybe had ads in at the beginning. The rest didn't. So it's like they don't put ads in every single monetized video.
Yeah, well, and even non-ones. Like every time, if I haven't watched a video, and Steve, you're the first or second video I watch, I get an ad at the beginning of your video, almost every time.
On my videos.
Yeah.
You don't get choice
like,
anymore. That's why we all.
Yeah, you got ads on them, not in the center. I've never seen any in the center.
But my videos, my channel is not monetized.
Yeah, but they put it on anyway because they're making money of it. It's like
they changed their policy literally like a month or 2 months after I signed up. I got a message saying, the terms and conditions have changed. Your videos may have ads. Before you could control it. Yeah, if you monetize, but you see, Steve,
on my videos.
But Steve, if you monetize, you won't get ads because you can monetize and not monetize your videos. Then you control whether your videos have ads. If you don't, they choose and control for you.
Yeah, because like even
you don't get anything for it.
I've watched a couple of his videos and I finally decided to do a screenshot of one of his videos. And like there's an ad. Well, there's 2 ads right at the beginning. You could see the 2 in the picture. So the next time I get it with yours, I'll take a screenshot of your video and I'll send it to you.
Well, then that gets right back to what Mark said at the beginning of this little love fest, which is that if they're making the money anyway.
Yeah, they are. They're making the money, and that's the other.
My whole world into confusion.
And it's kind of weird too because people say they don't want to go watch the videos because. Videos that have ads in, and they don't basically. I've heard some people say they don't want the money to go to that person, so they want the money actually to go all to YouTube then, because when they buy the thing, it's all going there.
Yeah, but I forget who was saying. Someone was saying that
my channel. You know what I would do with that money? I would go person by person in my subscription feed and start knocking books off their Amazon wish list. One after they've all got them, they all post them. I'd never dream of posting a wish list of mine, but plenty of people do. I just go in and do that one after another, right down the line. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got my wish list up. My wish list is down below in the thing, and so is Mark.
I think they're fascinating.
I don't post my wish list.
Look, I put it there. If someone does it, that's great, but I never mention it. It's up to some people do. Like Ollie, he does have a lot of stuff in his thing. I was actually surprised. I was looking the other day. He has a shop that I didn't know he had. He has which I think is kind of a good idea because he has these affiliate links for these bookshops, which is like his bookshop, I think. But it's done through independent. So he makes a list of books from this bookshop, and if you buy them, he gets a cut. But they're sold from independent bookstores rather than. At least that's my understanding of it. I might be wrong, but
I think that's right.
What people do with it, to be honest, I put it there, and if people want to look, although mine's a bit out of date now, because I keep forgetting to. When I buy it for myself, I keep forgetting to remove it sometimes from my wish list. I might, but
is the spring and summer catalogs for the American publishing industry, and I'm going to get those books anyway.
That's it. That's
why would I? Why would I? That is.
So I'll tell you what, Steve. As you're a good mate of mine, you can put my wish list in your video descriptions.
And mine. Don't forget mine.
Yeah, okay, put ours in. Yeah, there you
go. I'll be kind and say I'm doing well enough that let the people who aren't doing as well buy off those wish. So you don't have to put mine on, Steve.
Now I don't know what to do.
And you can buy it because my birthday's coming up. Remember that, Steve. So you can.
Well, you see, that's what you need, Sean. You need, when you do your birthday bash, you need to get on Steve's channel and get him to put your wish list in there to celebrate your birthday and see if any of his subscribers will sort you out.
That's not a bad idea. We could do a video in which I not only post your wish list, but we talk about it. That would be a fun video. Where we talk about each individual book and why it's there. That would be fun.
Quite a long list, though.
Oh, is it? No.
No, it's not that long. It's not that long. There's Blu-rays on it too, so for the people that don't want to buy books.
But you're in England.
That would be kind of a fun idea to go through some people's wish lists, actually.
A lot of people in the comments are pointing out that ads are showing up on other channels, on non-monetized channels.
Because
has anyone seen an ad on my channel?
I have never seen an ad on any of your channels, except the ones Greg. Your channel is not monetized. Right?
No, that's what I'm asking. Have you ever seen an ad on it?
No,
I think I've seen
yeah,
that.
but I have YouTube Premium, so
I have YouTube Prime, so I will never see an ad, so I can't tell.
But someone said, and I can't remember who it was, somebody who's quite big said, who doesn't monetize, I don't think, or maybe they do, but they said they monetize so they can control the monetization, because you click on or off when you monetize, right? So if you don't monetize, YouTube is going to monetize you anyway and just keep all the money, and you don't know about it necessarily. You don't watch your own videos.
Will they abide by that? Will they abide by that? Because
they're supposed to, I think.
If you got 100,000 views for every video, and you're monetized, but they're not getting anything, they
do. There is something like, if you don't monetize, so maybe you need to monetize like a couple of videos every 6 months or something to allow because I think you lose if you don't use your monetization after 6 months, then they demonetize you, which means they have then again control over your things. But you have more control being monetized over your monetization than not being monetized.
Yeah. So I'm gonna my next video actually is gonna be of people who use the Prime or whatever it is, and use ad blocker, that they're stealing money from me. That's the next video. That's the next video, and see what happens with that. You're stealing money from me. I need that 0.001 pence for that you've stolen from me.
You see, mine looks much better because I have a strange currency. I'm looking at a couple of thousand for the month, so it looks better on paper than like a couple of dollars.
Saying that they do see ads on Greg's channel.
Oh yeah.
Sarah says she sees that she just clicked on his channel and saw ads.
Uh-huh.
All the channels that are all.
Oh yes, she did.
Okay.
Yeah,
if you're seeing ads on my channel, maybe I should monetize then.
I would have thought I would be the last person on earth to say this, but if YouTube is collecting money, I did not know that.
It's a breaking news moment for Booktube. You heard it here first, folks.
Well, I mean, Greg was just told. Greg has made a conscious decision not to monetize his channel. He's just been told that there are ads on it. Someone just went in real time and checked.
Yes.
So those ads are generating money.
Something, even if I get a $50 check every 6 months, it's $50, right?
Yeah.
I will probably make it so I do the minimum amount of ads, because honestly, it'll be nice, but it's not going to, like Shawn, it's important for you, but for me, it's just extra cash in the pocket,
What is this comment from Jenny Parks? The nerve, the gall, the unmitigated temerity. What do you mean you're often the first one I watch?
That's when I've not made a video. Although I'm not sure if Jenny came to me through Shawn or vice versa.
Not often, always.
Oh, hang on. You see, this is an interesting one too. Hamilton hasn't seen it on your channel, but he's seen them at the beginning of Michael K. Vaughan's.
Yeah.
Mike also does not monetize.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Well, Steve, if you have any qualms of everything, and Greg, you can monetize, and you can just PayPal the money across to me. To solve your conscience. That'll be perfectly fine with me.
Hello, Michael. I think if YouTube tried to put adverts on Steve's channel without him knowing, YouTube HQ would suddenly be besieged by hordes of dogs.
That's not how it works. I'm not the Godfather. I'm not the Dogfather. That's not how it works.
Okay, never seen it there, Riley. Okay.
Yeah, so some people do and some people don't. Then obviously.
Good point there.
Yeah. Papa needs a new MacBook.
Yeah. I think non-monetized channels have a couple at the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a lot to think about.
Yeah, because I have chosen to put them in the videos too if they're over a certain length, but they do get crazy at doing that. You can't, as far as I know, you can't say just do one in it.
I know. Oh, by the way, I've got a low battery warning on my laptop.
Well, I've got to go anyway, as you can see. A certain person is no longer contentedly sleeping. She is now awake.
You know, we've been on 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So same time next week, chaps.
This was a huge amount of fun.
It's like, as I said, sitting around having a chat in a pub somewhere. Without any
I actually
alcohol.
want to do that. I've been trying to think of pubs that have Wi-Fi and actually doing a live show where everyone goes to a pub. They can order a beer, whatever, and you can drink your beer and eat while on a chat.
People are going to think it's a bit weird if we're all sitting in the pubs, you know. So
I know.
yeah, what did you think of?
I don't know if it's possible, but kind of interesting to try to do that.
Yeah, well,
I
we
have a
talked
suggestion.
about that
What?
last year, didn't we, Mark? Or
We did. Sorry, Steve.
What if we four were to convene next Friday with a slate of book questions,
Could be
book
interesting.
topics to discuss?
Yeah.
Didn't
And it'll
really
be
work
on-
this time around. We didn't get very far on what we feel about Booktube these days, but that might be fun.
Well, we'll do it. It's on Sean's channel next week, but share that you're doing it, Steve, so you can bring some of your hordes of adoring fans to visit Sean's channel.
That's
Maybe.
an excellent idea.
we go.
4 of us convening. Do you have
Sure.
Sean? Do you have the ability to have 4 people on at the same time?
yeah, same as this. Yeah, I can.
Exactly the same one, yeah.
I say we
Okay.
try it. That would be
Okay.
lots of fun.
Sounds like a
I
plan.
mean, Mark pointed out that we are not a diverse group, but aside from that, I think we got it going on.
You know, we've got the hairy, the not so hairy, the young, the not so young. It's a little bit diverse. We're international. We've got Canadians, Americans, English people. There's something there. Dog lovers, cat lovers.
How long am I going to be still called a Canadian when I no longer live there?
Forever.
When you stop saying a boot, eh?
Yes, and when you start saying the word FILM with only one syllable,
Film.
which you steadfastly, no pun intended, refuse to do. it's two syllables when you say it because you're from Saskatoon or whatever.
No, it's just I purposely I drag it up film, and sometimes they'll say film.
Well,
So next Friday.
I have
Next
to
Friday.
go. I want to wish you all a happy evacuation day.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
I've
I've been here 3.5 hours. I got to evacuate.
Yeah. Same thing.
Oh, Greg, I thought we were going to leave that stuff to Mark.
No.
No. Oh, he can be relied upon. The rest of us should be above that.
Hey, I do Garb August. I'm not above anything.
True. None of us.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for
Well, thank
joining us, Greg. Thanks for joining us, Steve. Sean, well, you know, it goes without saying. So do take care, and we'll see you next week at Sean's place.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye.